Welcome, dear colleagues of the Global Task Force, and welcome to the last session of the United Cities and Local Governments Annual Retreat, and also a very important feature within that retreat, which is the Global Task Force meeting. We are delighted to have you with us. And I just want to give you a few figures so that if you see we are tired and we make some mistakes, we've been the whole week meeting with over 620 people. We've had 210 cities from 70 countries joining us. My team wanted to make sure that I share that with you. But today is our big highlight. We feel that it is an important moment, that all the networks that work with local and regional governments at global level come together to determine the priorities for the year. There are three things that have been happening this week which are really relevant and interconnected with each other. The first one is that the Perseverance rover has landed in Mars, breaking through. The second one is that studies show that the Pfizer vaccine is 85% efficient in those even with one doses maximum. And the third one is the Uclg retreat. And you know what is the connection between those? Do you know, Maximo? No, I don't think you do. The connection is that while nobody is going to ask this group of people gathering here to develop a vaccine, and nobody is going to ask us to drive the rover to Mars, when we need to build a society in Mars, they will be calling us. They will be calling you. And when we need to distribute the vaccine, they should be calling us. They are not doing it, but they should. Welcome, colleagues, really. It's an important moment for us at the retreat, and we are delighted that you have all accepted the invitation. We have a very busy meeting, so we are going to start right away, but I wanted to give the opportunity to Massimo Perino, whom you know very well from all the exchanges, to welcome you all as well. Massimo, how do you feel? A very important group of people here with us today.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Hello, everyone. Hello, dear colleagues. It feels really great to say hello to everyone. And really happy to see the high level of participation and interest in this year's annual meeting of the Global Task Force. This past 2020 has been a challenging year, but well, through our collaboration, which we feel has been strong, it has been a better year. And we hope that in this very busy year and inspiring one that we have ahead of us, it will continue to be strong and grow.
Thank you very much, Massimo. And let us go now for the opening, to the opening remarks of this important moment. We've got Gino van Begin, the Secretary General of Uclg with us. Gino, the floor is yours. You will be followed by Greg Muro. Thank you for joining us, Gino.
Thank you very much, Emilia, and my greetings to everyone here in this meeting, to all colleagues of the networks of local and regional governments and partners. Emilia, it's an honor for me to speak here at the opening of this Global Task Force meeting. And I think one of the things that you asked me to do is to, from an Uclg perspective, but also from a Global Task Force perspective and as a partner in there, to share maybe with all of you some of the main considerations that we see emerging and also necessary, therefore, for us to follow up together. So I'm going to try to do that, and I will touch upon four particular points in doing so. And I try to stick to my 5-6 minutes that I've been allocated. Well, first of all, from an Uclg perspective, I think, and working really on sustainable development and advancing or supporting local and regional governments around the world to advance in sustainability, I think we can say that the year 2020 and the years in front of us, we made maybe a bit of a progress, but essentially our levels of unsustainability are still very high throughout the world. And even if the backlash of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impacts that it has had on certain causes of pollution may have decreased overall our state of affairs in terms of the planetary well-being, but also of the human well-being on this planet is not a big success currently. So we need to continue to work, I think, and accelerate sustainable development at all levels. And that is one of the things that definitely from an Uclg leadership perspective, we are going to work on this year in particularly. We will have our new leadership being elected. That is for us every 3 years. The World Congress of Uclg comes together in a virtual manner, hosted by the city of Malmö in Sweden. And we will be discussing the strategic orientations for Uclg in the future, and that will take place in April. But here, just to say that the overall picture is quite clear to us. There is an absolute necessity to accelerate sustainability at all levels, and there is maybe here a bit of a glimpse of positivism. I would think when I look at the overall perspectives with regard to multi-level cooperation, and we have seen through this period of the pandemic and the impacts that this is having, that the work and maybe also the understanding of the need for doing things differently in the future has occurred at various levels, not only at local and regional level. And I think all of you who have been working with local and regional leaders will have heard that how important it is to learn from the COVID-19 pandemic and to do in the future also things in a different way. But we have seen it also at a national level, and we are very inspired by, for example, the leadership that has been taken part in Japan, in Korea, in the European Union, in the UK, and recently now in the United States of America. In all of these countries, we have seen a push forward, in particular now, I should say, in the field of climate and climate action, where the multi-level cooperation and therefore the interaction between national strategies and local regional strategies have come further. We can see very clear commitments that have been taken, for example, in a country like Japan, where the majority of the local and regional governments are working in partnership now and committed through the national government to a very ambitious climate neutrality package, for example. Similar things are happening in Korea, and as we know also, obviously with the Green Deal at the European level, there are steps taken further. And in the United States, with the new federal leadership there, of course, we are very happy to see that the United States is and remains a part of the Paris Agreement and therefore the implementation. All of these are very good and very necessary, we would believe, because we have entered, as you all know, the decade of action. This is the year 1 of the decade of action. So we are, if maybe over the last 5 years, we have been, all of us, I think, and definitely as the Global Task Force, have been very much committed and active in accompanying the negotiations that have led to a Paris Agreement, that have led to the urban agenda, that have led to the SDGs, for example, and in many other negotiations. I think that it is absolutely right now to speak about a decade of action as it was announced by the United Nations. And that is what is also going to be at least translated for us at our level and where we can come in. And here I see surely a role for the Global Task Force, for local and regional governments to join those efforts that have been put into place, such as recently the Race to Zero and the Race to Resilience campaigns, each of these being initiated, promoted by the climate COP champions, and which would hopefully offer a push and a platform for local and regional governments to undertake more visible action that can also be processed and monitored, in particularly by setting more stringent targets and achieving climate neutrality well before the mid-century, and by putting into place also interim targets such as by 2030. I see here definitely for us all coming together here an avenue to use those initiatives and to promote these, also to support our members, our local and regional government partners in joining these, and therefore in a joint effort also to accompany the implementation of the Paris Agreement at the local and regional level. Here within the Global Task Force, we will be working obviously in terms of networks now very much with our colleagues at Uclg, but also our colleagues at C40 and our colleagues at the Global Covenant of Mayors to advance in these processes. Having said that, nonetheless, I think it is important to point at the backside of what also, in particularly last year and due to the COVID-19, what we have seen. And here, I think it has become very, very clear through COVID-19 the inequality and inequity that is still very, very clearly divided between global north and global south, but also within global north and within global south. So the issues of social tensions that we have seen occurring due or indirectly due to COVID-19 have become clear, and they have been there in my view for a longer period, and it's something the social dimensions, I think, the social inclusion on those large processes, international process, economical process and growth, all of that has to come together. And I think the dimension, the social dimension in here will take a lot of our attention. And therefore, I think that your work as members of the Global Task Force in that particular area will be absolutely necessary. And I'm looking forward to all of you who have expertise in particularly in issues such as social inclusion, right to the city. These kind of themes, I think we have to put on the agenda very strongly during the next years to come. And finally, if I would just look towards our interactions now with United Nations agencies and the United Nations headquarters in general, where the Global Task Force, as well as the World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments, has been instrumental in messaging or collecting, first of all, and messaging the voice of local and regional governments. I think here within the Global Task Force, and we made some proposals as Uclg now to you in our interactions with the United Nations. I think we have to reach another dimension of communication and dialogue, and not just like, you know, we come into those events, we make our submissions, we do have a certain level of dialogue, but it is very much event or milestone oriented. And I think we need to find a more permanent way of dialoguing with the UN agencies, and therefore under the umbrella also of the celebration of UN 75 years, we made concrete proposals, and one of them is that we would suggest, with your support and under the umbrella of the Global Task Force, to ensure that we would have yearly meetings with the United Nations Secretary General and all of the chiefs of the United Nations agencies, to at one particular moment to make our, not only a message, but actually our entire plan of how we would like to see the engagement between local and regional governments worldwide and the United Nations occurring and also progressing. Secondly, I think that we could also look into the, in particularly through the Global Task Force and the enormous geographical spread that we have, we could look into the regional commissions of the United Nations, and I think some of us are working with those regional commissions, but we could make that far more streamlined, far more cross-cutting, and far more regular. And so that is maybe a second dimension where we could look very concretely how we as a global task force could take up that potential that is there of United Nations being regionally organized through these regional commissions. Thirdly, we know that the United Nations is looking into certain efforts to decentralize also some of the work, but also some of the attention through United Nations coordinators at the local level. And here again, at the national level. And here again, I think for the Global Task Force and the members of this Global Task Force, I think we should make a plan to advocate, to lobby also those national United Nations coordinators for the various points of agenda that we have come together here, and to share our messages with those. And very finally, one of the things that we have seen definitely over this process of the last 10 years, where all of us have been advancing those dialogues in the best ways possible at the United Nations level. One of the things that we have seen constantly, though, is that we are doing this at the edge of capacities and at the edge of economical resourcing. So I think that it would be high time for us also to make it very clear to the United Nations that we are not just there as a stakeholder, and local and regional governments and leaders should not just see as a stakeholder, but as a co-creation of global solutions to global problems, and that therefore our resourcing, our capacity making potential should be supported far more strongly. And so this is maybe the last point that at least from an Uclg perspective, but that we made also to the Global Task Force here, to support us, that we together would have those dialogues as well on that particular topic of, ensuring that our potential for capacity building and supporting that interaction is actually also realistically funded and resourced. So I think, Emilia, I hope I could stay within the timing that you have given me. I know that this session is going to be followed by a number of other colleagues and also colleagues from Uclg who will go into some of these points maybe a little bit more in detail. And so therefore, I would just like to stop here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come in here at the opening session. Thank you.
Thank you, Gino, for joining us indeed today, and for providing this framework. Indeed, we will go after Greg's introduction. We will go into the topics that we are going to cover today. Indeed, we are a lot of people, many participants, United Nations colleagues included as well. A big challenge to cover everything, but I'm sure we will manage. We've got elected officials with us as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Greg Munro, you don't need an introduction, and introducing you today is hard because you have several hats. I guess the hat that you are wearing today is a Secretary General of our sister organization, CLGF, and a seasoned member of the Global Task Force, soon to be Director of Cities Alliance. I see that Billy Cobbett is also with us. Look, I cannot avoid saying, Billy, you have done a great job, and I hope you can take the floor later on. We love Cities Alliance, and we also love that one of our own is going to direct it from now on. So a big win for the constituency, I would say. Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Emilia, and hello, everyone. Just in terms of the work of the Global Task Force, where we've been and where we're going, I want to talk just two things. One is the context, and the second is the way or the methods that we work in. So in terms of context, there's going to be a lot of speakers later on talking about the context and what we should be dealing with. And a lot of the context for the future for the Global Task Force will be shaped by some of the summits, the global summits that will be happening over this year. Clearly, COP26 and the climate emergency is right there on our agenda. So too are the issues of poverty. And increasingly, because of increased poverty with COVID, the issues of food security. And food security is going higher and higher and higher up the agenda that I am seeing from CLG's perspective. Gender, of course, must stay on our agenda, and issues around green energy transition, how that relates to the climate emergency. A lot of the context going forward of our work is heavily influenced by COVID, and Gino's mentioned some of these things. I mean, inequalities have always been there. The inequalities have been exacerbated by COVID. We've seen many more people being pushed into poverty. We've seen a codependence of the formal and the informal sectors of our cities and our local governments, and how we need to integrate them in our work. We've also seen that where local government has been involved in COVID responses, there's been a better response. So we have tangible evidence for our decentralization message. And I think we should be very practical in our decentralization messaging from the Global Task Force using the COVID experience. But I'm not going to go much more into the context because there's many speakers who will deal with that. But in terms of method, and this is, as you know, this is an area that I always raise. You know, we need to consolidate the gains. We need to say we've actually achieved something. We are a practical example of where when working together achieves much greater than the sum of our parts. So I think we need to congratulate ourselves as to what we've achieved, and we need to consolidate those gains. And CLGF will be taking a lot of these gains into the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in mid-year. And we have cities, we have about getting cities right and urbanization, all those things will be taken into CHOGM. Rwanda will be taking over the chair of the Commonwealth after the CHOGM, so Rwanda will actually be leading much of the work for the 2 years following that, and local government will be on the agenda. But we also, going forward, need to engage outside our constituency. So we meet regularly, and then I will speak, but Gino agrees with everything I say, Carlo agrees with everything I say, Mercedes agrees with everything I say, we all agree. So let's maybe look at how do we actually involve the people who we need to involve who don't necessarily agree. So straight away, although we are local and regional government, our advocacy must also be to the ministers of local government. And CLGF can play a role in getting the ministers to the table, because as you know, they are members of CLGF, at least in the Commonwealth. We need to get the ministers of finance involved. Then we talk about healthy cities. And I always say ministers of health can talk about health for decades. Unless local government is empowered to fix water, sanitation, housing, health will never get better. So they need to listen to us. I always also say that, you know, Abina Mohammed made that wonderful comment at one of the high-level political forums in New York, saying it's dawned on them that they need us from the UN more than we need them. So what does that mean? So practically, what does that mean? You can't just say it. And I think we need to hold people to account. And I just want to end with an example from the mayor of Bristol, who sits on our executive committee. And he's heavily involved in trying to influence the UK government, at least, on COP26. And he said to Lucy and I, what you don't want is local government at COP26 being a side event. So in a sense, local government, you go and have your side event, while the main men and the main women of national government we'll sort out the real issues. And that's what's going to happen. And I think we need to keep on saying we're not a side event. And as Gina said, co-creation for global solutions. And then I like that from Gina. And I think we need to remember that phrase. So let's push the boundary a bit on how we work and who we talk to in the Global Task Force once we've consolidated what we've done. And my last point is, you know, you mentioned the Perseverance robot landing on Mars. I don't know if you saw the tweet that the robot sent back. It said, arrived on Mars, Perseverance can get you anywhere. And I think we need to make that our byline in the Global Task Force, because we need to persevere and persevere and persevere, and perseverance will get us everywhere. Thank you, Amelia.
Well, we certainly know how to persevere in this municipal movement of ours. We are patient, we take the time, but we will get there. It's just that now, as Gino was saying, we need to accelerate. And I very much like both your opening remarks, because we have come a long way and we have now the tools to accelerate. We are well organized, we talk to each other, we have a kind of symbiosis in our work programs. So I think we are ready. We are ready for the next step. We are more mature and we have more tools. And I think this meeting will demonstrate that. So allow me now to go to the help desk of our meeting. If you have any questions, if you doubt which part of the program you are in, if you have lost your link or whatever, there is a permanent help desk that will get you where you need to be. And hello, Marta and María Alejandra. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Decidnos, ¿qué tenemos esta tarde? ¿Cuáles son los temas que vamos a tocar? Gracias por estar ahí.
Muchas gracias, Emilia. Bueno, pues esta tarde continuaremos con la reunión de hecho de la Global Task Force. Vamos a revisar las prioridades clave para el 2021. Vamos a explorar cómo unir fuerzas para la sostenibilidad y el roadmap, la ruta hacia Hábitat 3+5. Luego tendremos una breve pausa para la tele. Ya veréis de qué se trata.
Okay, and following that break, we're going to be talking about the year of summit, which is this year, 2021, talking about Urban 20, CSW65, Generation Equality, the UN Food System Summit, UN Global Sustainable Transport Conference, and also UN Ocean Summit. And also to finish this part of the meeting, we're going to be talking about next steps. And as a kind reminder, then we're going to have a break and we're going to be having our session on learning with you.
Yeah, learning with UCLG is a proposal, and I hope colleagues of the Global Task Force, you will stick around. There will be more people from the UCLG family joining, but actually we have programmed it today because we think one of the next steps that are that are implicit in the remarks that you have made, Gino and Greg, is collective learning together. And I think our organizations need to get better at that. So we have some things that we want you to see, and we hope you will stay for that. So let's kick this off, actually. And let us go now to the first segment. I want to start by welcoming two new organizations. We are 27 now joining this Global Task Force, and we have 100 resilient cities with us, and we also have the Mayors for Migration Council who are with us. They wrote to us last year informing us that they would really like to be part of this Global Task Force, and after consultations and after them also indicating that they are part of the networks of local and regional governments family in the formats that they have acquired, they have become full members of the Global Task Force. So a big applause to them. I hope we will hear from colleagues later in the program, but as you can see, we have two new members of this very expanded family. So let us go to the segment on sustainability, and I understand our colleagues from Uclg are going to lead us through that. Yunus, please do pay attention to my signs because we have little time, and I will keep you following the time. I will help you following the time. We are delighted to have you and Ingrid with us. The floor is yours. I guess you start, Gino? Yunus, sorry. I told you I was tired. It has been a long week. I warned you. Yunus, do you start?
Yeah, Emilia, thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm delighted that in this session we will be joined by Ingrid Kotze from Cities Biodiversity Center, hosted in Africa Secretariat, and we will also have the Secretary General of Regions 4. He will also join Ingrid in the biodiversity agenda. Since they too are sharing that session together, maybe I can start quickly in the climate, and then I give the floor to Ingrid, and she can take us back to the agenda, both also UN Environment Assembly. I'm not sure whether you have the slides. Shall I show it, or
Yes,
shall I wait?
We have them. Don't worry about them.
Okay.
They will be there. Just tell us where you want them to go.
So in the climate agenda, we're on the right road to Glasgow. Both Gino van Begen and Greg Munro mentioned this. How are we preparing? That is the issue, and what to expect there, and how to go forward. For those who are new in the process, we should be always remind ourselves that Paris Agreement opened a new era, because in the UNFCCC and the Kyoto Protocol, we did not have this visions of multi-level action. We were not recognized before. There is a goal for 1.5 degree and climate neutrality. These are new things that is defining the shape, and it is an agreement for all. It's not for only rich, or it's not for the North. So in that sense, national governments have a duty to bring their new climate commitments and action plans to COP before Glasgow. There's a homework at home to be done. So the success of Glasgow depends on work at home. In that regard, we know that none of the climate plans are fit for Paris Agreement. That's a need for every nation to do this. And of course, this also implies us. We have a responsibility. Climate action is not anymore a voluntary action that we have been doing for 20 years. Since Paris Agreement, it is a core responsibility. That's why we have to commit our targets, and that's why we have to be part of the NDCs. And stakeholders, it's not just the producers of these technologies, new equipment. It's a benefit that should be shared by all society, and it should be celebrated by all, even those who are disadvantaged with the transition from the old technology, old era to the new one. If you go to the next one, since 2019 in Paris, in Madrid, we have defined that our goal is to make the Glasgow COP as the multi-level action COP. That is reflected to the spirit that Greg and Gino and Emilia has mentioned, that the real spirit is that it is a collective summit, it is a collective action, and it has to be delivered together. In that regard, we have 3 main priorities and 7 action areas. So our first duty is to localize Paris Agreement, to raise ambition through races that is being announced, that all our members in the networks, we will be reaching out with you letters, collective websites, so that we make sure that ambitious commitments on both mitigation and adaptation are on the front line, and we bring this information. But secondly, that we have to have vertical NDCs. As mentioned before, Chile, Peru, Rwanda have given some good examples, but this year we're excited to work with Korea, Japan. We look forward to US, so that these NDCs are demonstrating the true examples of multi-level NDCs. And we will be working on a guidance on regional and locally determined contribution from Committee of the Regions to the GCOM as well. We will accelerate action at all levels. It's not anymore a technocratic work. It across divestment, from gap fund to food to circularity, mobility buildings. So with or without a success of Glasgow, we have to act on these areas. But when the Glasgow summit, we have the last, the red part is important, that we have to have expand the process, so that, as Greg mentioned, we want to have the first ministerial with urbanization ministerial, along with urban environment ministers, along with ministers of energy and finance. We would like to have urbanization ministers. There will be a great effort for that with UN Habitat, other partners. I think we will make a good success when we'll connect to culture community and others as well. Climate justice will be a key issue. Glasgow has mentioned this, and we have been working on that. The city who is being host of the Industrial Revolution would like to kick off a new type of industrialization, but it's inclusive and it is shared by all. So in this year, last year we were all internally, but now this year mobilization is coming up. So the next slide, let's recall what has happened before. I'm sure this slide is not readable for many, but the essence is that, especially since Copenhagen, there is a diversity of actions, that we are in the blue zone, which is the access to negotiators. We had summits since Copenhagen. We had activity areas. We had cities day before. We are seeing more experiences on the green zone. For example, we had seen this in Paris, in Bonn, and we have city zones. We remember impressive city halls summits in Paris or Marrakesh. So in Glasgow, we have to make a combination of all, and we have to demonstrate the best of all. So the last slide, in my regard, what to expect in Glasgow. In the next couple of days, there will be several efforts. We have been sharing these discussions every month. We have webinars of LGMA constituency. We are encouraging you to join us. The last discussion shows us that, first of all, we are expecting a unique COP. It will be 10% very likely in person, but 90% virtual, but it will take place. So there's no question. But we have to be innovative in terms of the physical and virtual events. The UNFCCC, the blue zone, the ones that is restricted, for the first time since 2009 in Bonn, we want to have a pavilion, an LGMA pavilion, multi-level climate action pavilion. We as Uclg would be ready to facilitate this. There will be other pavilions that we have been partnering with other countries, so we will also have space there, but we have our home in the blue zone. There will be numerous ministerials, and one of them should be urbanization. We are discussing the green zone, which is accessible by all, and here our colleagues, COSLA, the Scottish Association, are already reaching out to a number of partners. We as Uclg are supporting them, and we are very excited that they will hopefully create a space in the green zone as well. And we will also see other processes that the cities are addressing the other issues as well. And finally, we're expecting to have the Glasgow zone. This is the place where City of Glasgow, Scottish government will also be active, which will include a summit of cities and regions that will be showing our outcomes, especially how to demonstrate, how to implement the climate action. In that regard, throughout these 2 weeks, we're expecting 3 peak moments. There will be the UNFCCC-led Race to Zero results. We are expecting our summit, the Cities and Regions Summit, and then we will feed all of us together to the Cities and Built Environment Day that the presidency will be working on. There is a calendar of activities. I will not go into too much of the details. Maybe we can go through this, but we are prepared that the virtual and physical space is now open for us. In the next couple of weeks, probably we will expect more clarifications, and we will keep you informed about our preparations through the LGMA mailing and LGMA webinars. And maybe I stop here and give the floor to other colleagues so that we can continue with the other agendas. Ingrid, you can continue with the biodiversity agenda. And there's a question, I'm ready here to respond. And many thanks, Emilia, for all your efforts and the preparations and all collaboration.
Thank you very much, Yunus, for this presentation, which has been shared through the chat. I think it's important for everybody to understand, and for the many partners that are with us today, how organized our roadmap is around Glasgow. What I suggest is indeed that we give the floor to Ingrid, and then just warning, because Billy always says that I always catch him without him knowing. I would like Billy to take the floor, because Cities Alliance is planning on support our agenda during COP26. And I also see that Serafín Passos from COSLA, the Association of Scottish Local Governments, is here with us. So maybe those two speakers for later on. But Ingrid, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Emilia. And just quickly, I do have some slides, so if you can put them up. I'm not going to go into detail. I just want to show you over the next 2 slides how very comprehensive our roadmap is from the local and subnational constituency towards the biodiversity COP next year. It started already in 2018 when we, together with various of our partners, such as Regions 4, a European Committee of Regions, committed to this roadmap. And if you can give me the next slide, please. You'll see that there are so many events, and these are just the major events that we've lined up. I know that Regions 4 is going to talk a little bit more about some of these events. All I want to highlight at this stage is that when we get closer to COP, we will also again have another global summit of cities and subnational governments on biodiversity, which is a parallel event to the COP CBD, and it is going to be held in China, and we have a lot of good support from both the CBD Secretariat and our Chinese colleagues in developing that. If you take me to the next slide, what I just want to mention quickly is that there are various other initiatives in the space. We have also monthly webinars for the LGMA constituency on the biodiversity agendas. And we do have a website where you can find a lot more information. There is a link. I will put the link up in the chat just now. And together with our partners who we work with and collaborate with very well, we've also made statements at the technical meetings of the CBD convention, as well as the implementation meetings. And then in the next slide, just very quickly to show that Uclg is also working with the Secretariat on providing a mechanism or a platform where cities and regions can make their ambitions known, their commitments, and we're going to be linking this with the action agenda, and this is going to be both for cities as well as for regions. And then finally, in my last slide, just very, very quickly, I want to just refer to some of the main outcomes of the Global Major Groups and Stakeholders Forum in this past week around the UNEP medium-term strategy. I think the important things that came out of that obviously relates to specific calls that were made, for example, around the issue of plastic pollution, and then also from a biodiversity perspective, very importantly, a more ambitious post-2020 framework that's being called for, as well as for food. Somebody mentioned the issue of food. This is really an important issue that has been taken up also within the GMGS forum. And then I think the other thing that was really warming to hear was the emphasis that was placed on pursuing a One Health, a welfare approach, and making the links between people, environment, and animal health as a very central part of the post-COVID-19 recovery. And then just very quickly to say that the sort of major elements of the medium-term strategy reflect this in the sense that it focuses on those three crises: climate, biodiversity loss, pollution, and then the point around multi-level governance and a greater role for our constituency. Thank you so much, Emilia, and over to Regions 4.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. I thought I would give the floor first to Serafin to come back on COP, and then colleagues from Region 4, be prepared indeed, because you will be up next. Serafin, any thoughts on this roadmap that Yunus has presented to us, and any news from your side?
Thank you, Emilia. Good to see you again. Yes, I mean, there's no much to add, because I think Yunus, with whom I say hello and I speak several times almost per day these days, we are trying to put together essentially a synergetic program where local and regional governments can actually have a meaningful participation in COP at the highest level and in various roles. So in addition to the multi-level action zone that we hope that will happen, we're also trying to set up we're at the moment in active discussion with, as well as Uclg, with CMR, Uclg, obviously, the rest of the UK colleagues, Italy as the pre-COP host, in order to set up a space within COP that will enable those discussions to take place. That will complement the multi-level action that Yunus already mentioned, but also the other activities that Glasgow City Council, and I actually take the opportunity to pass our greetings from Glasgow City, to welcome all of you and the leaders from local government for all over the world for a series of also events with Glasgow and in the wider outreach in Glasgow City. So we are trying to work together with all these organizations to provide a comprehensive program, a consistent program, and I forgot to say that at the beginning, it is now finally, after almost a year of discussions with the UK government, the UK government has just confirmed there will be what they are calling we would prefer to be called a local government day, but fair enough, they're going to call it a Cities and Built Environment Day. Will be in the second week of COP, so in the second week of November. And the activities that we are discussing at the moment with, as I say, CMR, with Uclg, Uclg, ICRI, and the others, is precisely around that day to create the possibility of actually having that direct conversation, not just among ourselves, but also with wider partners that participate in the discussion, including governments. We are at the moment defining the concept, because there's a number of deadlines for instance, for the UK government running at the moment. But these discussions will continue in the next few weeks as to try to narrow that down and make sure there is a space for all of us that we can make an impact. As COP26 is about delivering, the ambition is already from Paris, now is the time of delivering, and most of the COP delivery can only be achieved if the competent authorities, very often local and regional authorities, are fully involved, and that's what we are towards working. But anyway, good progress and good to see you all, and we'll continue that discussion with all of you in the months to come before we get to Glasgow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are opening up more spaces. We are focusing on national determined commitments for sure, and trying to influence those. We are joining the race to zero, the race to resilience, and opening up the new spaces and the new parts of the dialogue is certainly important. Thank you very much for that, Serafin, and count on us to follow up. So I will now give the floor to our colleagues from Regions 4. Welcome on biodiversity.
Thank you. Thank you, Emilia. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here at the annual meeting. It's my first time, so I'm happy to join the community and the conversation. Yes, so picking up on what Ingrid was saying, I would like to share a brief update on the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, and in particular what we're doing around the Edinburgh process. So the Edinburgh process that's being led by the Scottish Government has 4 main objectives, and we're working closely together with them. Firstly, to gather views of the subnational and local government constituency on the zero draft and monitoring framework of the post-2020 global biodiversity framework. Second, to gather input for an updated CBD plan of action of subnational governments, local authorities and cities. Third, we have developed and launched the Edinburgh Declaration, which outlines the high-level political objectives of subnational and local governments in relation to the post-2020 framework. And it calls for a COP15 decision for more inclusive global biodiversity framework that not only recognizes, but more importantly, enables conditions for the role of subnational and local governments. So recognition, but also facilitating conditions for successful implementation. And finally, the Edinburgh process provides a platform for the subnational constituency on the development of the framework up to COP15. So it's great to share that the process has been progressing, and it's now a strong movement of partners together with Uclg and us at Regions 4, the European Committee of the Regions, the group of leading subnational governments, and it's successfully bringing more subnational governments on board. The Edinburgh Declaration now gathers over 100 signatories. So, and of course, I would like to take the opportunity to invite all of you to support this declaration as an important call to action to the parties and to mobilize our leadership on the way to COP15. So it will remain open during this time until COP15. So you're more than welcome to join us in these advocacy efforts to make a strong case for subnational governments there. Together with the Edinburgh Declaration, we're also soon to formally submit all the inputs gathered during the consultation and a draft plan of action for the meeting of the subsidiary body on implementation. And also we are participating in a series of informal sessions in preparation of the subsidiary body on scientific, technical and technological advice. And we are taking the floor in the most critical agenda items to our constituencies to continue gathering support for the recommendations. So there is still no clarity on the dates on the important meetings leading to COP15 and on the COP itself, but we're still looking forward to the year ahead and really working hard so that the collective advocacy efforts will keep the momentum going. So I will be sharing in the chat also the link to the Scottish Government's website so that you can also help us in spreading the word and joining the global movement, the Edinburgh Declaration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia. I think the call has been heard, and I hope that many others will join this Edinburgh Declaration. Also, thank you for bringing the regional perspective, that territorial perspective, which is so important for this topic on biodiversity. And I hope the collaboration between the networks of local governments and cities, also with regional governments in the cases that is not part of their membership, really crystallizes in a lot of collaboration and joint action and policy recommendations, because at the end of the day, that's what we need to aim for here in the Global Task Force. So thank you very much for that. I don't know, Natalia, whether your colleague also, Lorena, wanted to intervene, or if you are okay with that, and we can go to Billy Cobbett now, just looking at you. It's fine?
It's fine. Yes, mindful of time and great to.
Okay, so thank you so much. Look, if we keep this up, then we might be able to have another conversation later on. Billy, so on Cities Alliance and COP26, Cities Alliance played a very important role in the Edmonton conference, linking science and action, bringing local governments also to the fore. Bringing up the topic of informalities. We have discussed this among the local government constituency of Cities Alliance. So any thoughts you want to bring to us on that?
Thank you, Amelia, and thanks to Global Task Force. First, a very warm welcome to the Mayor's Migration Council and to the Resilient Cities Network. It's a great strengthening of the Global Task Force. Very briefly, we're delighted to be asked by our local government constituency and the Global Task Force to provide substantive support. COP26 is not natural business for the Cities Alliance, but we can mobilize our other members in support, as we did in Paris at COP21, as Amelia mentioned, at Edmonton at the Cities IPCC conference, and most recently when Uclg challenged us to present to the World Congress a policy paper on informality. And so that is what we propose to do, because we are addressing, and I pick up on the theme of Greg, not because of his new job, but because of the point that he made, which is the need to talk outside of this constituency and to address different audiences. You know, at COP26, you're going to be talking to member states that are at best skeptical about local governments and cities, pretty lacking in knowledge about medium and sized intermediary secondary cities, and I would imagine significantly unfocused on the informality that dominates so much of the cities. And I think one of our challenges is to link two agendas. One is the agenda that has always been associated with the Cities Alliance, and that is with the cities without slums, and demonstrate just how strongly this is part of the green agenda. And that connection really needs to be understood. That is what we can take to COP26. So from our side, Emilia, very happy not to be leading, but to be providing support to the Global Task Force and to the city and regional governments that move to Glasgow.
I mean, the dialogue with the rest of the constituency of Cities Alliance is one of the strengths of the Alliance from the perspective of the organization that I facilitate, United Cities and Local Governments, and I think also for the rest of the constituency. I think it is very important that we are able to present our messages as constituency within the Cities Alliance, and also that the rest of Cities Alliance tries to influence the other stakeholders. I think that's the role that we all need to play. And as we often say in discussions, it's not about all of us having the same messages, but at least being aware of the messages and trying to understand why some of us are pushing more for one thing or the other. I think this is very relevant in this discussion that is starting to appear, race to zero versus race to resilience, which shouldn't be versus, because it's totally symbiotic. I think we need to avoid the mitigation versus adaptation discourse coming back. I think Cities Alliance can play a very strong role in supporting our constituency, bringing this kind of messages. So thank you, Billy, for that. And I want to recall also that many of us here are also part of the Making Cities Resilience 2030 initiative. It's a very important part of this equation towards sustainability as the Global Task Force. As you know, I will be co-sharing this for the next 2 years, and we are going to meet next week. We are kicking it off, and I would really welcome your inputs, your vision on this. Many of you are going to be sitting there and working hand in hand with us, but I just want to put this at the table because it's an important part of the Global Task Force. I am looking if there is anyone else that would like to take the floor in relation to this. I would like to acknowledge my co-president, the Mayor of The Hague, and Mayor Jan van Zanen, who has joined us and will take the floor a bit later on. But thank you, Mayor, for being here. I also see our special envoy for the new urban agenda is with us, and many others, actually, too many to, we are almost 200 people, so I'm not going to mention you all. But I thought those two did deserve the mention. I'm still looking at my screen. If there are no hands raised here, Emmanuel from C40 is also here. Emmanuel, a quick word, and literally it will be quick because we need to go to the next segment in about 3 minutes. Do you want to take the floor? We are working within Urban 20 for a statement that we want colleagues to be aware. Luca Trifone from the City of Rome is going to join us in the next segment to present to us the progress that we are making within the context of Urban 20, which UCLG and C40 co-convene. But Emmanuel, in 3 minutes on sustainability, I would say.
Thank you, Emilia. I was not really asking for the floor, but thank you for giving it to me. I think C40 is, of course, happily supporting the efforts of the Global Task Force towards COP26. We are, as you all know, one of the conveners of the Cities Race to Zero and also of Urban 20, as you just mentioned. I think for us, this year is absolutely critical, and it articulates two very strong moments. One is around COVID-19 recovery and the necessity to make the recovery green, just, and via cities, and have a number of good decisions being made at national, regional, and global level to make sure that COP26 is actually a success, and that we keep investing in fossil fuels, and that the recovery is really used to reduce emissions and increase resilience in cities in particular. So all our advocacy this year is articulating those two elements, green and just recovery from COVID-19 on one side, towards COP26 ambition and action on the other side. And Urban 20 is completely part of this, so is MCR 2030, where we are sitting too, and where we will support Emilia, of course, its co-chair role, and Cities Race to Zero and other spaces we're happy to contribute to. Thank you.
Thanks, Emmanuel, for keeping it brief and for your continued support as C40. We were very happy to have also Mark Watts with us during our retreat. I think it was on Tuesday, not Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. Thank you very much for that. It's an important year indeed for our joint agenda. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the elected official from Canada and part of our board, Beb Eslinga. She is with us today as well. Greetings, Beb, and please do take the floor whenever you want. But if okay with you, Beb, do you want to say anything now, or you want to keep it for later?
I'll keep it for later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beb. Welcome. So we're going, colleagues, I'm looking and I saw that there was someone that had the hands raised, but I thought it would be good to give him the floor later on. We are going now to our roadmaps towards Quito +5, actually a very important articulator for us all. The new urban agenda is a very critical building block for the rest of the agendas according to this constituency. It links local public services delivery with the SDGs. It acknowledges local governments as political actors, which is something very critical to change the conversation, like Greg was referring to, and also Gino in the international stage. And we are going towards an important conference next year. An important conference of review, Quito +5, where the World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments, which this body convenes, the Global Task Force, plays an important role. As you know, we are mentioned in the outcome document from Quito. I think a well-deserved mention as a monitoring mechanism for the implementation of this agenda. Remember the huge mobilization we did. I mean, that picture is unforgettable. You will agree with me, Cipra. You were standing very close to us at that moment. So yes, a very relevant moment for this. And I would like to say that I somehow, and don't take me wrong on this, okay, colleagues, I think we've done a very important work, but somehow I feel as if we dropped the ball a little bit as constituency in relation to the new urban agenda. We jumped on the political possibility that SDGs were giving us, and we maybe have not spoken about the new urban agenda enough. For us, it's so intrinsically linked with what we do that we sometimes forget it. So I find it really very relevant that we dedicate time now to this, that we need to get ready for this important moment next year. And I am delighted to have with us Cipra Naranxuri, Chief Urban Practices Branch of the Global Solutions Division of UN Habitat, and back then, co-chair of GAP, a very, very important partner for our constituency in that interesting road. Cipra, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Emilia. Thank you, dear friends, dear colleagues of the task force. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm always inspired, not just today, but for a very long time that I've worked together with the local and regional governments constituency. I'm always inspired by the commitment, the vision, the engagement, and the drive of local and regional governments. Despite the very difficult circumstances our world is facing today and has faced at many inflection moments, local and regional governments have always stepped up, and it's always very inspiring to see. So last year we were of course, last December we were gathered at the Global Task Force working session to discuss the priorities in the agenda for 2021. Emilia, you just said 2021 is a very important year, indeed. But 2022 is an equally important year, and I'm just going to highlight a few elements of why that is the case. We've also just heard from all of you, from Emilia, from Gino, from Greg, what this year will bring, and the many opportunities we have to work together to make local and regional governments stronger and to be heard and to be engaged at all levels. I am very glad, Emilia, you said what you just said. Perhaps there is a little bit of a feeling that the new urban agenda is not central enough to the agendas of local and regional governments. Or perhaps it's just that it is mainstreamed in everything that you do, and therefore you don't call it out every so often. But I'm really pleased to hear that the implementation review of the new urban agenda, it's actually going to be Keto plus 5.5, if you must be accurate, is going to be is among your priorities, and truly UN Habitat is grateful that we can count on your continued and renewed engagement in this very important process. Let me start by talking a little bit about, recounting a little bit about what UN Habitat is doing to support the review of the implementation of the new urban agenda with the maximum involvement of local and regional governments. First, we've created guidelines for country reporting that specifically advance the use of spatially disaggregated, locally generated data, and that insist on local participation in such reporting. This is a deliberate effort to make sure that the different local realities are captured in the national reports, because we know that national averages hide more than they reveal. Second, with the partnership and support of UCLG and the colleagues in this room, we launched the Urban Agenda platform that my colleague Osa reported on back in December. As of March this year, country reports will start to be uploaded in the platform. Now, this is very important. This is not just a place where country reports are held, and this is not just a mechanical process. This is a fundamental element of transparency and engagement. The main purpose is to make sure that these reports are public, they are available to all to be reviewed, double-checked, and even contested if necessary, first and foremost by the local and regional governments. This is why the Urban Agenda platform and the hosting of these reports on the Urban Agenda platform in a public domain is extremely important. Third, as you may know, UN Habitat has been mandated by the UN Statistical Commission to shepherd the UN-wide effort to create a global urban monitoring framework, or the UMF. The urban monitoring framework and hopefully the voluntary local reviews that will utilize it will harmonize existing urban and local level indicator sets to provide coherent support to cities and local governments all around the world, not just to report and monitor, but to actually galvanize action around the SDGs and the new urban agenda. And to of course, monitor and report progress, but also demonstrate very much their contribution to national progress in achieving their goals. Because as Greg just said, local and regional governments are not a side event. They are not a sideshow. They are central to achieving the SDGs, the new urban agenda, the Paris Agreement, all elements of Agenda 2030 and the development goals that we are aspiring to achieve. So friends, the success of the review of Habitat 3 and the new urban agenda implementation will depend a lot on the preparatory work that we do together in 2021 and throughout 2022. So building a common roadmap is absolutely essential. Let me highlight the essential milestones in that roadmap. To kick us off, the SG's office is setting up, the Secretary General's office is setting up a task force on the future of cities, just as we speak. UN Habitat has been requested to prepare a strategic document on the future of cities this year, which the SG will use for a high-level address sometime this year. And we hope to engage you and have this conversation together on what goes into that. The high-level political forum of 2021 will focus on COVID-19 recovery and resilience. Of course, we will join forces as usual during the local and regional governments forum there. The 4th edition, where we will have a chance to review local and regional contributions to this and the NUA. Towards the end of the year, the preparations will begin for what you're calling, Amelia, the Keto plus 5.5, the high-level meeting of the review of the new urban agenda convened by the President of the General Assembly. This will be in April, and the regional forums on sustainable development organized in each region in March will feed into this high-level meeting. HLPF in 2022 will also monitor SDG 11. So the urban and local dimensions of the goals will be absolutely at the center of the debate. And finally, of course, 2022 is also the year of the 11th edition of the World Urban Forum. where the review of the new urban agenda will be center stage. And of course, the World Assembly. I cannot forget, as you just said, the World Assembly of Local Governments is our highest level mechanism to amplify the voice of local and regional governments. We were all there. We were all there, shoulder to shoulder. At that moment, the acknowledgement of the Assembly in Quito in the new urban agenda is a landmark achievement, and we will work together to make it an even stronger mechanism going forward. We also want 2021 to be the year of the rebirth of UNACLA, and we want to work with you under the presidency of Kazan to make sure that that happens. So let me sum up. We have a very important 18-month period ahead of us to ensure that this review and the review of the new urban agenda, the Quito +5, puts the priorities and visions of local and regional governments center stage. I'm very excited to walk this path together and to joining forces with you. Emilia, as you just said, not only are you more mature, not only do you have more tools, but I would say you also have more friends. You also have more champions. You have
yes,
more
I think the family has grown. Yes.
The family has grown, and you can always count on UN Habitat's partnership, on UN Habitat's friendship and solidarity in walking this path with you. Thank you so much, Emilia. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Cipra. Yes, I think that if we manage to bring almost 200 people in a Friday afternoon, after a full week of meetings that you have all had, that we have all had, I think, yeah, we have many important friends and warriors here with us. So thank you for this, for a very comprehensive overview of what is ahead. In the wrap-up session, we will go through some of the steps that we think we can undertake together. The World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments is, of course, not a meeting point only. It's truly a process, as you know. And we are proposing that preparations for that process start this year, indeed, with UNACLA and with a very clear roadmap to reach the conference. So thank you for that. I'm going to open the floor for the next 10 to 12 minutes. And I had seen the hand of the mayor of Soria, and the Uclg presidency special envoy on the new urban agenda, Carlos Martínez. Carlos, a ti la palabra, pero en 3 minutos te empiezo a mostrar el cartelito.
Hola, buenas tardes, Emilia, buenas tardes, Cipra, buenas tardes, colegas que estamos resistiendo en esta nueva reunión a lo largo de esta larga semana de retiro, que insisto en felicitar y reconocer el trabajo que se está desarrollando por parte de todo el equipo de CGLU en estas difíciles condiciones que están marcando la agenda política y que no podemos olvidar, ¿no? Que creo que nos deben de servir de referencia precisamente para poder cambiar el ritmo, imprimir mayor velocidad a las agendas internacionales que nos tienen que marcar en la hoja de ruta y el rumbo de las distintas administraciones en las distintas regiones del planeta, pero con un único objetivo, ¿no? Que nos marca la propia Agenda 2030, que es la igualdad de oportunidades, la igualdad en la prestación de servicios públicos de toda la ciudadanía, ¿no? Y en ese sentido creo que tenemos que intentar seguir insistiendo, ¿no? Escuchaba a la responsable de Un Hábitat, la señora Cipras, y bueno, de alguna forma da esperanza, ¿no? El entusiasmo y el empuje con el que nos traslada el apoyo a los gobiernos locales, dándonos de administraciones esenciales para hacer realidad la hoja de ruta que Naciones Unidas marca, ¿no? Y es verdad que así es, ¿no? Y es verdad que tenemos que dar ese paso para que esas administraciones esenciales tengamos una silla, en torno a la mesa en la toma de decisiones. Creo que es absolutamente clave que se cuente con nosotros en la planificación y en el desarrollo de todas las políticas públicas que tienen que ponerse en marcha, ¿no? Y escuchaba también en la sesión anterior al compañero de Cities Alliance hablando de la necesidad de la sostenibilidad medioambiental, ¿no? De configurar el planeta como que nos alberga como uno de los, y su preservación, su conservación como uno de los objetivos a conseguir, ¿no? Y hablaba de la necesidad de alguna forma de intentar incluir a las ciudades pequeñas e intermedias. Bueno, yo he aprendido mucho de la profesora Mercedes Molina, en que siempre tiene una frase que dice que no habrá sostenibilidad medioambiental si no hay sostenibilidad humana. Y por tanto la agenda de ruta que hoy por hoy tenemos encima de la mesa, que nos marcan los 17 Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, deben de entender que la nueva agenda urbana es la forma de territorializar, de incorporar la dimensión territorial al cumplimiento de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y, por tanto, el principal catalizador donde se tienen que implementar todas las acciones políticas de los distintos ODS. Es decir, la agenda urbana es una agenda internacional en sí misma. ¿Ya me toca tiempo, Emilia? ¿Sí?
Minutos más, pero te voy avisando.
Ah, vale, perdona. Resumidas cuentas, ¿no? La nueva agenda urbana es la que le da la dimensión territorial, la escala adecuada para poder implementar todas las políticas y todas las estrategias que de alguna forma aseguren esa sostenibilidad medioambiental. Es la que genera no solamente el enfoque de la acción política en pro de la igualdad de las personas, sino la acción política también en pro de la igualdad de los territorios. Y en ese sentido creo que tenemos un reto importantísimo, ¿no? A la hora de intentar poner en valor en la revisión de Quito +5 de esta dimensión. Creo que es absolutamente fundamental fijar esa dimensión territorial, medir a una escala adecuada cuáles son los indicadores que generan el desarrollo y la igualdad de oportunidades en cuanto a la prestación de servicios públicos y a partir de ahí poder acertar de una forma mucho más eficaz en la aplicación de las políticas que tenemos que desarrollar desde las distintas administraciones. Ese cambio de modelo que tiene que resolver los problemas de las grandes urbes, de las grandes áreas urbanas y metropolitanas, apostando precisamente por las ciudades pequeñas e intermedias, que generan una sostenibilidad medioambiental, que son parte de la solución de las grandes áreas urbanas y metropolitanas y que somos pieza clave y fundamental para resolver el resto de agendas internacionales. Ese es el reto que tenemos por delante. Tenemos una hoja de ruta clara a través del CGLO y un impulso político decidido en la toma de decisiones. Ojalá, ¿no?, seamos capaces de hacerlo realidad en estos próximos años que tenemos por delante, porque la velocidad tiene que ser mucho mayor de la que hemos tenido hasta la fecha. No sé si me he alargado. Perdona.
Sí. No, está bien, alcalde. No, justamente te quería ayudar a que vieras un poco el tiempo que te quedaba, un par de minutos más. Antes, cuando dije que quizás nos había faltado al movimiento municipalista o a este colectivo poner la nueva agenda urbana más al frente de nuestra agenda, me refería a la agenda internacional, no a los gobiernos locales. Esto que quede claro. Es simplemente que en la agenda internacional ha ocupado un lugar menos prominente y en la agenda de los gobiernos también. Y entonces, al tener a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible de una forma tan prominente ahí, eran también una oportunidad muy grande para nosotros de poder tener una visibilidad en la agenda. Pero creo que ha descrito muy bien, alcalde, la importancia que tiene como pilar imprescindible para alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo. Efectivamente, creo que si miramos a los mensajes que dimos en Quito, todavía todos son vigentes y ahora en la época de la pandemia todavía más. Y lo que nos falta, yo diría, simplemente es intentar que los gobiernos nacionales y la comunidad internacional tenga esa misma conciencia. So I am very grateful also, Cipra, that you mentioned these two important processes that are going to be started, the task force that you mentioned, but also this report on the future of cities. I think the Global Task Force is now mature and inclusive enough for us to be the reference in those processes. So we specifically ask for that acknowledgement, and we will be very open to provide inputs in an organized, inclusive manner, like we did for the process of the UN 75, which, by the way, colleagues, we are not celebrating enough, but I think we did a great job there. So thank you for that. I have two hands, and I want to go to the second segment really only a few minutes after 4, because we have many speakers joining. So please be mindful of the time. I've got Emily Meara from FMDB, and then I've got Frédéric Vallier, and we will go to the next segment after that. Emily, quick remarks?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I wanted to talk about our proposal, our joint proposal with the Uclg to renew our strategy on local finance. our advocacy strategy on local finance, we're all discussing about how we can have a better and permanent dialogue with the United Nations on the effective implementations of the global agendas and how we can give concrete means to local governments to implement these agendas. And we all know that there is a very important systemic market failure on the municipal market finance. That means that on the one hand, you have a lot of credit lines and project preparation facilities and credits put in place by the international donors. And on the other hand, the local governments cannot access these funds. So we must work concretely on advocacy strategy to make these funds available for local governments. And for this, we prepared a joint paper with very concrete proposal for renewed advocacy strategy. And this is very in line with all what we discussed today. That means that the key issue is to engage in a very concrete dialogue with the UN coordination mechanisms of each global agenda, and to make to feed with reports, data, practices, recommendations from the ground in order to achieve the localization of the global agenda. And we should put forward concrete policies, instruments that can bridge that financial gap. And we made some proposal towards this. It's based on the more active implication of the national level of financial intermediaries to channel the funds to the local governments. You can read the paper. I sent it in the chat, and we will be very, very happy to discuss it further with you. Thank you very much.
I think it's also very timely to recall that together with UNCDF, Uclg, and FMDB are organizing this Malaga coalition where we discuss the future of localizing finance. And we would really welcome for other actors to join in those discussions. I would also like to link it back to the proposal that Gino van Wegen was making at the beginning. It would be good to bring these messages also to the regional mechanisms of the United Nations beyond the global process. So I think it's something that can help us build as building blocks towards the global conference and within the new urban agenda process. Frédéric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Emilia. Very short remark on my side to invite colleagues to feed the national reports on the implementation of Habitat 3. I think it's very important that you contribute to the national reports that are being drafted just now, and we do in some cases. And second thing, there will be two major events happening in Europe in the coming month. So the COP26 we talked earlier, and we are happy that to prepare things also with COSLA and the UK Associations of Local Governments, and the World Urban Forum next year in Katowice in Poland. And we are already starting to discuss with our member association, the Association of Polish Cities and the city of Katowice, to see how to organize the best way possible the welcoming of colleagues from around the world. So looking forward for that, and happy to receive any suggestion and expectations on these both events. Thank you, Emilia.
Thank you, Frédéric, and thank you also in particular for bringing this issue of the national reports back. As you know, we are being quite successful in influencing the voluntary national reviews in some countries through the processes that we are promoting together with UN Habitat and other partners, but mainly with UN Habitat, on the voluntary local reviews, but also the voluntary subnational reviews. I am not saying it is exactly the same process that we need to follow, but I think it's very relevant that local government associations and those of you that have local government associations in their membership promote this. And it's probably going to be one of the important building blocks of the World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments that we need to convene. So very grateful for that. I see that colleagues have also shared in the chat the paper that Emily was referring to on the finance strategy, but also the analysis and survey around COVID and local finance that CMR has done with very interesting results. Is really worth reading. We don't really know what it will mean actually, but I think we can all guess that we will need to really look closely at financing. You have been so good that we are really on time for the next segment. So I am quite happy about that. If you have any emergencies, let us know whether you would like to intervene. And otherwise, I would like Co-President Van Zanen, the Mayor of The Hague, to kick off the next segment and with an intervention. Next year, 2021 actually is the year of summits, and so we are trying to strengthen and amplify our voices, Co-President. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear friends, and I would love to have met you in person. It's important every time because of our love for the international work based on a local level to meet and to prepare for all those summits. Some have been mentioned before, and I think one of my favorite, of course, is the annual HLPF on the SDGs in New York. And also, being 5 years ago, I was a new kid on the block. 5 years after Quito Habitat 3, it's good to see each other because in 2020, so many things have been postponed. And I hope that 2021 gives us the chance and the inspiration to meet again, although to the least for the first half of this year, 2021, it will be digitally, and I'm very glad that we can meet anyway on this Friday afternoon. And by the way, I agree totally with Gino van Begin from Uclg, that next to all those events that we can meet and can talk, please, during those events, try to find the basis for a structural dialogue on the long term. Anyway, it's great to be here and it's very inspiring to come together in this retreat this week after a difficult year for us, all of us, because we have many challenges ahead of us in this year, but also many opportunities to raise our voices in the international arena. This week has been all about collecting the building blocks for 2021 and beyond. And today in particular, we are seeing how by being together, even if distant, we can co-create on a joint advocacy with all of our important partners. As a constituency, we need to enhance our efforts to make sure that the communities that need us the most are in the center, right in the center of our priorities now and in the recovery of COVID. The international community, including Uclg and its partners, has adapted to a new way of life and of communicating and advocating. And I'm convinced that our new approach to advocacy will be applied at all of the events during this year, this very important year of summits. Personally, I believe that 2021 is a critical year for international solidarity and peace building with, for instance, the World Forum on Cities of Peace and of course the annual Geneva Peace Week set to take place. Strategic events for designing the peaceful cities of the future, and fundamental spaces to reinforce the relationship between sustainability, an equal recovery, and a peaceful world. As COVID-19 is placing a lot of pressure on local and regional governments worldwide, I realize, dear friends, that it's not evident that they have the time, the resources, and the headspace to focus on international solidarity and cooperation. But I want to underline here and today that despite these difficult circumstances, it's actually even more relevant to work together and help each other. And I repeat over and over again, we are all in the same boat, and together we stand stronger. And I can assure you that all different parts of Uclg organization stand by to ready to help spread the values of solidarity, sustainability, and international cooperation. We stand ready, we all stand ready to co-create an evidence-based lobby on the continued need for international cooperation of local governments with all of you. We should also be instrumental when drafting our universal pact for the future. Be inspired, take care, stay healthy, and continue to be local and think international.
Wow, Co-President, thank you so much. Very inspiring words from a political leader that knows very, very well how hard it is to cope with the expectations of the citizens in these times of pandemic, but that is hopeful for the future. And thank you so much, Co-President, for showing the support of the Uclg presidency to the work we do within the framework of the Global Task Force with the United Nations and other partners. I'm truly grateful for those inputs. I'm going to go back to Shipra just for a moment. Shipra, after you have heard our colleagues, any thoughts very briefly that you would like to share with us? I'm sorry I didn't give you the opportunity to kind of wrap up the previous segment, but I wanted to give the floor to the mayor. I know you understand. Shipra.
Absolutely, and not a problem. As I said, I'm grateful and I'm amazed to see, not amazed, I am grateful to see the commitment, but I know the commitment is there to the new urban agenda and to all the different agendas and localization of the agendas. I just want to say two things. I think we need to join the dots around the whole agenda of localization. Every agenda will only be successful, whether it is Paris, whether it's the SDGs, whether it's the new urban agenda, if it is properly and deeply localized. And by that, I mean the commitment, the political commitment, certainly, but also the mainstreaming of these agendas in our local policies, in our local plans, in our strategic plans, in our budgets. That's absolutely central. Then I want to pick up the last point that of course your co-president just mentioned. Think local, but engage global. And this point again came out from everybody. How do you sharpen your messages and make them coherent, consistent, powerful, and reinforcing at all the different international arenas that you engage in as the Global Task Force? I think that is absolutely fundamental. So at the local level, if you mainstream these goals and really drive the process of localization, our outward-looking messages will also become more powerful, more evidence-based, more well-informed. I think that's really the way to go where I'm concerned. But thank you again for the opportunity. This is fascinating.
Shipra, For that, we will need to work together to figure out how we make sure that we make some progress in some of the fronts that both co-presidents Van Zanen and also the special envoy and mayor of Soria have put on the table, but also Gino van Begin and Greg. I think we are all very, very aligned. I have some proposals at the end of the meeting that I hope everybody would find interesting. But of course, this is a co-creation exercise. We're very aware of that. So let us see. For the time being, it's great to see that we are aligned, that we have the same kind of priorities. And now allow me to give the floor to Beb Eslinga. You raised your hand, Beb. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And the co-president inspired me, and I loved his think local and engage international. And I think one of the benefits that I receive as a local leader is the wisdom from my colleagues from around the world and how together we can come together and really learn from one another, but to inspire one another to continue in the fight. Emilia talked about that we are warriors. And sometimes it feels like we're in battle alone. And I think what I've heard today was if local governments can come together, we have a stronger voice when we speak together. And I think that's what I've learned today on the green agenda. I think about the impacts of the pandemic that it's had on our most vulnerable communities. It's revealed cracks and challenges. But together, we're looking at ways to support one another and support this work. So these are important conversations as we have come together this week. I think one of the things that I've learned is how similar we are, not how different we are. And that together, and I'm very excited about some of the opportunities to discuss generation equality with the UN. And as we go forward, bringing our voices together, we are much better allies. And I think as we go forward, I'm excited that we could change the world because when we come together, we're a powerful voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good, you know, all of these networks are making such efforts to ensure that your voices of the political leaders are amplified, that your perspectives are included in national and international policies. And so it's so encouraging to hear that it makes sense and that it makes a difference also at local level for your day-to-day work. We often think that we are working for the long run, and that is necessary and we need to persevere, but it's good to see that also at short term we are making a difference. So thank you for those inspiring words. I'm going to give the floor now, and I hope he's ready, to Luca Trifone, from the city of Rome, the Sherpa of the co-chair of Urban 20. You know, Urban 20 is one of these big summits that we organize every year as a constituency, co-convened by C40 and Uclg. We are very excited this year to be able to organize it with both the city of Milan and the city of Rome. And Luca, we are delighted that you are here with us and that you can share in a few minutes what we think this summit should be like, and in particular the communique that we are preparing. Bienvenuto, Luca.
Grazie, Presidente. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and many regards to all our colleagues. It is important to stress that this year, in the capacity of G20 chair, Italy has a unique opportunity to provide an effective answers to multiple global challenges that we must face. To do this, Italian presidency in the G20 will focus on an important phenomenon that is people, planet, prosperity. People means that policies should be people-centered, and this means that it is important to addressing the issue of inequalities with determination and protecting the most vulnerable parts of our society. Planet means that we shall relaunch ambitious commitment to improve energy efficiency, reduce emissions, and protect the environment. And this implies working effectively at the international and national level, as Vice President has just stressed. Third pillar, prosperity, means that we must examine the challenges posed by the technological revolution, focusing in particular on digitization. That is a very important tool. More in Italy in 2021 will also be the chair of COP26. And as Emilia has just stressed, and Rome and Milan will co-chair the U20 summit that will deal mainly with green and just recovery and the possible financing of local initiatives to mend the damages created by the pandemics and the economic crisis. In this unique framework, presidency of the U20 opens a very wide window of opportunity. As Mayor of The Hague has just stressed, of course, talking not only of U20, but about the whole 2021 year. In the year of pandemic, mayors are taking unprecedented measures to protect the well-being of city residents, being worldwide on the front lines to fight pandemics and support people. Italian presidency will strengthen this process and, together with the conveners and the cities part of the U20, will focus on a presidency based on 3 pillars. Recovery must be green. That means that recovery funding shall contribute to deliver ambitious and equitable climate action. Cities are now ready to do their part with an adequate support of national governments to achieve their climate and equity goals. But also recovery must be just, equitable. Plans and investment for the recovery should contribute in rebalancing the economic inequalities created by the pandemics and create more just and inclusive society and communities. And third, recovery must be, of course, city-centered, talking about the Urban 20. Urban 20 would like to, would like and will engage adequately cities in developing on the recovery packages and benefiting from them. But more, I would like to stress that in the framework of the G20, for the first time, Italy will hold a joint ministerial meeting on climate and energy, to mean that the thirst of energy and the safeguard of environment are closely linked, and the answer to those challenges must be single. That ministerial meeting will particularly focus on smart cities, and that is a very good news for all of us working with the cities, and on green finance and stimuli for sustainable recovery. Italian G20 presidency would like to ensure the closest cooperation between ministerial meeting and U20, and so to deliver a joint message from U20, an engagement group of the G20, and a ministerial meeting of the G20, so to deliver a joint message to the heads of state and government. The whole of the event that Italy will chair in 2021 demonstrates that the attention of Italian presidency is extremely high on cities. We have many opportunities this year, and the intention of Italy is to deal with all different issues in a complete approach, exploring in particular cross-cutting issues and creating synergies between different but interrelated aspects of the protection of the environment and the need for a prompt economic recovery. Cities are the most struck by the COVID due to the concentration of people and business affected, and that at the same time, local administration are the most accountable by the citizens. That is why Italy is focusing so much on problems of the cities, providing them solutions and opportunities for a recovery. Precondition to the adoption of those effective measures is a strong engagement of all the international community at the local and national level, in all international and national fora, with a full cooperation between those two levels, as Vice Presidents has already underlined. We have a very big opportunity ahead of us this year, and we shall not waste it. Thank you.
Luca, and it is worth recalling for the colleagues here in the Global Task Force. Well, we are managing Urban 20 as an initiative where we have a fixed group of cities that accompany this initiative from year to year. But the role of the two networks that are co-convening, but also the networks that integrate the partners of the process, such as Metropolis, Uclg, etc. Our task is to ensure that the messages that we are providing permeate not only those cities that sign up the communique, but also the rest of the cities, and that all of our constituency can actually lobby the national governments to influence their agenda. So Luca, thank you very much for joining us today. 27 local and regional government networks are at the table this afternoon. I think it's important to share with them the progress that we are making, and we will ensure that we will share with them details very soon on the process, with dates on Sherpa meetings and when we expect to have the first versions of the communique. So thank you very much for those inputs. And I would like now, we have very little time left and many speakers left. We're going to be late. And we are going to be very efficient now. Diana, I see your hand is raised, but I suggest that you come in a bit later, if that's okay with you, because I would like to respect the times that we had promised to some of the representatives as well. There are some agenda issues here that I need to be mindful of. So I would like to give the floor to Sabine Fraser, the Chief Leadership and Governance from UN Women, a very important partner for our constituency in generation equality. We need to make it work, Sabine. We are very grateful that you are with us. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Emilia, and thank you very much to all the members of the Global Task Force. It's a great privilege and a great joy to be with you here today. I only have, I think, 5 to 7 minutes to talk, so I will try to be as quick as possible. But just to say that I am very happy here to talk to you about the Commission on the Status of Women, CSW, and a little bit on the generation equality. And I really feel that I'm amongst a group of strong supporters in gender equality and women's empowerment. So I want to thank UCLG and its partners for its deep commitment and our partnership on issues of gender equality. And I do want to also just say a special thanks to Emilia, who has been supporting us very much, particularly on the preparation of this Commission on the Status of Women, as she was a co-chair for our expert working group, which provided much of the content to help prepare for this Commission on the Status of Women. So thank you very much, Emilia, for all your support up until now. I'm also very excited because I know that many of you have been supporting CSW for a long time. I will start with just a brief introduction for those of you who don't know about the Commission on the Status of Women. The CSW, and I'll use the term now CSW since it's shorter, the CSW is the principal intergovernmental body exclusively dedicated to promoting gender equality. So CSW meets every year for 2 weeks in New York during the month of March. This year, we will be meeting, but it will be a hybrid format. So no delegations will be coming to New York, and it will be primarily a virtual event. During those 2 weeks, there will be ministerial roundtables, interactive dialogues, general discussions, and many side events. And what we hope is that after the end of these 2 weeks, we're going to have agreed conclusions that will basically serve to further advance women's access to rights globally. So this is the normative agenda that we hope to ensure with CSW. Next slide, please. So this year, we are particularly excited because the priority theme is women's full and effective participation and decision-making in public life, as well as the elimination of violence for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. So this is the first time actually since 2006 that women's leadership and decision-making is a CSW topic. Within the context of the world today, be it COVID-19, be it some of the pushback that we're seeing on gender equality, this is really an important theme. We also have a review theme, which is on women's empowerment and the link to sustainable development. Next slide, please. So as I said, there will be ministerial roundtables and interactive dialogues. Just very briefly, I will tell you that there are 2 ministerial dialogues, one on getting to parity, good practices towards achieving women's full and effective participation, decision-making in public life, and the second one on creating an enabling environment for women's full and effective participation. So this is where the ministers will speak, and member states are invited to recommend ministers that they would like to speak during these ministerial roundtables. Then we have 3 interactive dialogues, which will include a variety of stakeholders. So some from national government, some from local government, some from civil society, academia, perhaps sports, the private sector. So this is a wider forum for dialogue, and those will be on eliminating violence against women in public life, building alliances for women full and effective participation, and building back better women's participation in leadership in the response and recovery. So those will be the events that are planned during CSW. Next slide, please. But in addition to that, there will be side events, and there will be also discussions, presentations by member states. Now, what I wanted to highlight to you is what the content, the focus of the CSW will be. As I said, it is on women's participation and decision-making in public life. So to complement the CSW, there is a Secretary General's report, which you can find on the UN Women website, but I can also share. And this report comes up with ambitious recommendations, which will serve as the basis for the agreed conclusions. So I just wanted to tell you about those recommendations. There are about 20 of them, but they are basically fall under 5 areas. So one is on the need to strengthen the normative, legal, and regulatory frameworks to ensure that women can participate equally in public life. So here, for example, we have quite a bit of information and data on the importance of quotas. And basically what we underline is that quotas work, and that in countries that have quotas and that have effective quotas, where parties that do not apply them are sanctioned, we clearly see an increase of women that are elected. Then we have a series of recommendations on preventing and eliminating violence against women in public life. So we also underline that as we're seeing more women in public life, we're also seeing a rise in violence, both online and offline, against women that are involved in public life. So this can mean women that are elected, this can mean women candidates, but this can also mean women who work in civil society or rights defenders. So what we're saying is that this is a particular form of violence against women. Then we have a series of recommendations on strengthening gender responsive institutional reforms and social norms. So basically to underlining that up until today, social norms often advance stereotypes saying that women are not as good as men as leaders. In institutions, often you will find practices and procedures that will also not benefit equally women and men. So there are a series of points about that. Then in the fourth part, we have recommendations on the increasing of the availability of high quality financing in support of women's participation. So this means increasing financing for women candidates, also increasing financing for women's civil society, and more broadly on a gender responsive budgeting and governance. And finally, what we underlined, or what the SG underlines in his report, is that there is a need to strengthen the diversity of women's voices and leave no one behind in public life. So this means increasing the inclusion of young women. This means including women in all their diversity, women who face multiple forms of discrimination due to race or to economics or disability and so on. So there's a series of recommendations in the SG's report on this as well. So those are basically, that is what will probably be the main focus of the content of the CSW. The CSW will look at these issues, and in the agreed conclusions, we hope that there will be progress in these 5 areas, and that member states will agree to take up action to address these 5 points. Next slide, please. So I know that I don't have too much more time, so I just wanted to also underline that because CSW is not happening as it normally does in New York, what we're very much looking forward to is the opportunity to localize CSW 65. So what we're calling this is an opportunity to bring CSW home. So within our own offices at UN Women, what we're encouraging our UN Women colleagues to do is to cooperate with their usual partners in national government and local government and civil society and national gender machineries to organize events around CSW in their own countries or in their own regions. So what we're saying is that because we cannot all be together in New York, this is an opportunity for us to come together at the local level and to talk about the SG's report, to talk about the issues that are there, and even after the CSW to talk about the agreed conclusions if they're passed and the recommendations of the SG's report. So basically what we're saying is that this is a great opportunity to localize and to think about how some of those findings in the SG's report and in the agreed conclusions can apply locally in cities, in regions, and so on. Next slide, please. I will skip through this quickly, but just to say that
you really need to wrap up now.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No problem. So I just wanted to just say one more additional thing, which is that all of this is happening within the context of a real focus on women's leadership this month of March. So we have the International Women's Day on the 8th of March, which is main theme will be women's leadership. Then we have the 2 weeks of CSW. And then we have the Generation Equality Forum in Mexico, where there will be presentations by action coalitions, which will be promoting how to advance and accelerate the Beijing Platform for Action implementation over the next 5 years. I just want to mention this one in particular because we have an action coalition on leadership and feminist movements, which UCLG is a leader of, and which UCLG has been participating in quite extensively in terms of helping think about how we can identify clear goals to work on over the next 5 years to ensure greater women's leadership. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Emilia, and thank you very much to everybody on the call.
Sabine, I need to also give additional information. You will be seeing it in the chat as well. We are going to be organizing special events during the CSW, and I am checking here because they are sending me the dates, which I forgot. On the 23rd, we have a side event that we are organizing on behalf of the constituency, and it's around feminist leadership. And on the 19th, or on the 22nd of March, we are organizing a full day of local and regional governments. We usually do that across the road from the United Nations with a couple of sessions inside. This time we will be organizing it worldwide in a setting similar to this. And so we are inviting all the networks to mobilize their representatives. I also want to emphasize that there will be a local and regional governments day on the 30th of March, that together with Mexico City, the government of Mexico, UCLG, is organizing this local and regional governments day, that the mayor of Mexico and the mayor of Paris are going to be playing a role there, because the mayor of Mexico will be giving the baton to Mayor Anne Hidalgo, who will be hosting, we hope also within the forum that will take place in Paris on generation equality in June, also a special event around local and regional governments. So colleagues, you will see more information on this. It's in the making, it's on the desks of the two mayors right now, and we will finalize it, but we've got a date for Mexico, 30 of March. I also want to inform that UCLG is preparing I don't know if I should call it a report, but a vision of what feminist municipal leadership could look like. And we are interviewing our women mayors around the world, and we will be monitoring and the work that we have been doing with UN Women this past year is an inspiration for that, will be a reference for that. And of course, some of that work and many of the recommendations that Sabine was referring to are going to be referred back and commented as well in that report, Sabine. So this is also new for you, Sabine. We are moving. So very quickly, I just wanted to leave this with the colleagues of the Global Task Force. You have received some information already in your inboxes from the Global Task Force last week. We are gathering registrations now for CSW. You know, Rodrigo Messias and Sarah Vieux are your focal points for that. Don't hesitate telling us if you have other plans. So unless I see any hands, and I know our Vice President Carola Gunnarsson is around, we are really late. We are going to be late. I mean, I think over 15 minutes late, I think. But I have you all together here, and I cannot avoid asking if you want to take the floor. So just give us a sign. If not, I am going to go ahead and invite our colleagues from FAO to take the floor, because you know, food systems and the summit that is taking place this year is very high on our agenda, and is very high on the agenda because also of our biodiversity work, because of COP26, but in general because how we want to change our relation with the planet. So I am really delighted that Cecilia Marroquino is here with us. And Cecilia, you've got the floor. And after you, I would give the floor to Diana Lopez as promised. Cecilia, to you.
Thank you, Emilia. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting FAO to this interesting discussion and to the annual meeting of the Global Task Force of Local and Regional Government. I am glad to join this panel related to the summit, and particularly I will focus my presentation on the Food System Summit. And I'm really glad to highlight the role of local government that is increasingly taking recognized as a priority within FAO. I will quickly go to the Food System Summit, to the structure, to the overview of the summit. And the point is how the local and regional government can get engaged in the Food System Summit process. The summit will take place in September in New York, in September 2021, and pre-summit will happen in July in Rome. The summit will be the global occasion to really rethink how to better manage the complex choices that affect the future of food system and accelerate progress towards the SDG. To go to the focus, the food system dialogue could be a core element of the engagement process. The dialogue offers an organized forum for stakeholders, including local and regional government, to come together and to share evidence, experience, identify new ideas, and promote sustainable food system transformation using different entry points: food waste management, public procurement, biodiversity, improvement of retail environment, increase of access to nutritious food, short supply chain, just to mention some, that are all agenda, that are all part of the local and the regional agenda, while shifting from silo approach to a more holistic one, which take in consideration the interconnection between the food system and other sectors. In the other word, the dialogue will look at to identify sustainable solutions to strengthening local and global food system through multi-stakeholder process. So within the structure of the summit, the dialogue are organized at 3 levels. We have member states dialogue organized by national government, global dialogue that are aligned with global events on major issues like climate, health, economic and job development. And then we have independent dialogue that are organized by individuals and associations. So basically, local and regional government have mainly 2 pathways for engagement. Independent dialogue by organizing their own dialogues at local level, or they can be part of the member states dialogue, in particularly on the stage 2 of this process, which is explicitly designed to include subnational government. So the summit aims that all member states use this food system summit dialogue to review their own food system, to create action and solutions that are specific to the local context and thus make a significant contribution to meeting the SDG. And these dialogues are connected, as you can see, to the 5 priorities of the Food System Summit, that are named action tracks. We have 5 priorities. The first one is ensure access to safe and nutritious food for all, the second, shift to sustainable consumption pattern, then boost nature positive production at sufficient scale, advance equitable livelihoods and value distribution, and build resilience to vulnerability, shocks, and stresses. Each of these tracks has appointed a chair and as a UN anchor organization. FAO is the anchor organization for the action track 1, ensure access to safe and nutritious food for all, which is chaired by the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. So FAO from 2018 has developed the FAO of Urban Food Agenda Framework, a corporate approach which aim at supporting local and regional government in mainstreaming food system within their policy planning and action. And under this framework, FAO is trying to support cities in get engaged with this process. So the way in which FAO is supporting these cities in the context of the Food System Summit is really supporting in the organization of independent dialogue. So FAO will hand over to connect the local dialogue to national level discussion and to policy making process through our country office, our decentralized structure. And in addition, we support cities to propose game-changing solutions at international level, in a way rethinking the traditional multilateral model where local governments are usually left out. With this idea of the multi-stakeholder and multi-sectorial approach, considering that this is the key of success, this is at the center of the food system approach, FAO, together with GAIN, is also creating an urban food system working group, bringing together different actors, international, including Uclg, different city networks, civil society organizations, academic institutions, and UN agency. And the aim is to get the voice of the local government heard in a unified and coordinated way. So, and to have the opportunity to submit ideas and game-changing solutions to the Food System Summit to make sure that the voice of the local and regional government is amplified within this global process. Therefore, cities can rely on FAO support to raise their voice in the Food System Summit process. So FAO has a widespread network of country offices as well as a dedicated task force working on urban food agenda with urban focal point at the regional level. So in this year of the summit, this year of the Food System Summit, we are ready to support cities in getting engaged in this process through the organization of independent dialogue and to get connected with national government in their food system dialogue at national level. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, for bringing this very important topic indeed. I mean, many of our organizations that are participating today are a part of some of the initiatives that are enriching the summit. We are all very committed to promoting activity at local, national, regional level. The proposal that we would like to bring to the Global Task Force, which we discussed as well, was to ensure that, like we do in other cases, we try to organize, making use of this virtual environment that we live in now, local and regional government day to provide specific inputs as well at global level with the participation of all the networks that are here. And so we are going to work towards that also because we feel, as we discussed last year, that we need to develop joint policy on food systems, a constituency-based approach to food systems. And the summit is a very timely environment to link this up with an international process. So I hope colleagues will agree with that. And we are really very privileged that you are bringing us this information firsthand. We are sharing your presentation with colleagues so that everybody has access to that information. And if colleagues have any questions, please do raise your hands and I will come back to you after the rest of the presentations. We have two speakers to go. I would go first with Diana Lopez from UNDP, and then I will invite our colleague Nayara Costa from UNDESA. She's going to be talking to us about the Energy Summit. Diana, the floor is yours.
So happy to see so many UN colleagues today here. So I'm speaking on behalf of UNDP because I see Johannes had to leave us early. So, you know, UNDP is a big machine of 17,000 people. There is the opportunity of the strategic plan of UNDP, the next plan that we are building together now for the period 2022-2025. This is open for comments. The Global Task Force has already submitted first ideas, but we are working together so you can influence the work of UNDP in the field. In the field, UNDP has 171 offices. So they have offices in your countries, and it's important that we start also bringing together the work that UNDP does at country level. But more importantly, we work also closely with ministers of planning, ministers of development. So this is something that we have also to advance together to these dialogues between ministers and mayors. We have been doing this with UN Habitat as well for many years, and I think there are the opportunities here. As the colleague from Rome mentioned, there is the G20 for the environment. So specifically, we're also working with Uclg there to bring possibilities for Italy, since they are hosting the G20 and the pre-COP, to enhance dialogue, political dialogue with ministers and mayors in terms of climate. We are also trying to organize the second dialogue of ministers with mayors on climate, but wherever we can bring ministers and mayors together, the UN has a role there, and we are looking forward to work with other UN agencies here present to advance on that. Third point, and then I'm going to be I'm happy that Nayara is going to speak about the local and government forum, so I'm not going to advance on that. There is the 4th edition at HLPF. This is very important, but it's also important to visualize what you are doing in terms of SDGs. We work with Venice City Solutions on visualizing SDGs in cities. cities because it's easier to understand the concept of the cities. We will keep doing Venice this year on visualizing SDGs and the role of local governments. And it's important we advance on that, on bringing specific outputs of all the good work that you are doing. And for that, we have Venice, we have Nayara who will speak more. And then on a personal note, I miss you so much. I'm really very sorry. I'm very sorry not to be able to show you my window because this is all for windows, so you cannot see anything because it's snowing like hell here in New York, but this is your home. My home is your home, so this is the local government home, and many of you, you know already there is a sofa bed, so if you need a room to spare when there is no hotels for local governments in New York, my sofa is your sofa. Thank you very much.
We are starting to miss those days in which we were paying two expensive beds, $300 just for a night, just to be across the UN and to fight for tickets to get into the main sessions. We are missing those days, Diana. So don't offer your sofa bed too much because I think there will be a long queue coming up. And thank you for bringing that very personal note to the meeting. We are indeed humans. We do know each other for many years, and thank you for being with us. You have been a diehard, have been with us throughout the week. We are truly grateful, but also thank you for bringing this issue on the strategic priorities of UNDP. Indeed, we circulated and we gathered inputs from the Global Task Force to the strategy. We are waiting for the next steps. Thank you, Diana. And I am going now to Nayara. Before I give you the floor, Nayara, I wanted to clarify that we did not include the high-level political forum in this meeting because we had a quite extensive dedicated session just before Christmas, where we covered our commitments around it, and of course our commitment to contribute with the report on localization. As every year, please do fill in the survey with the local and regional governments forum, which we will organize again, with the promotion of the BLRs, etc. So we are not going to focus extensively on that, but Nayara, the floor is yours for whatever you want to share, but I understand that you're going to be paying a special attention to the UN high-level dialogue on energy. Nayara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Emilia, and thanks again for the invitation. It's great to be back, and very inspiring discussions as well. And I join Diana in saying that I miss meeting you all in person. I miss seeing people around here. I live very close to the UN, and it's been very challenging not to see you around. We can move to the next slide. My suggestion, and I'm really mindful of time, the PowerPoint I shared has all the links, and my suggestion is if there is interest, just follow up with me. I'll be here, I'll be available. We can discuss, because every event has its own process and way of going, so I can follow up bilaterally. I want to mention that in March, the PGA is organizing a high-level meeting on water. We are supporting and we are following the office of the PGA.
Great, Nayara. Move your microphone a bit because your sound is gotten worse. Let us see now.
Let me see. Is it better?
It's much better. Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep like this. So just mentioning that the UNPGA is organizing a high-level meeting on water, 18th of March. What is interesting to watch is because the virtual type of events that are happening, it is attracting a very high level participation from member states, including heads of state and government to those events. So we are supporting the organization of this event. If there is interest and more information, we start to share more information as it becomes available, but I wanted to, bring this to your attention. There is another one that we are supporting, is the Science, Technology and Innovation Forum, what we call the STI Forum. Indonesia and Latvia are the co-facilitators of this forum. This is also kickstarting, it's in May. And this is a space that usually I don't see many representatives from local governments, but if there is interest, come to me, send me messages. We can explore ways for engagement and participation. I also want to update you that the UN Ocean Conference has been now postponed for 2022. We still do not have the dates. This will be also a matter of decision by the UN General Assembly. I mean, we are still monitoring the COVID situation, but the PGA has committed to organize a high-level event on ocean also during the summer. Dates to be defined, more information will come, but also I wanted to put this on your radar. We have mentioned the Local Regional Governments Forum. We'll be starting planning very soon, and more information will be shared as well with the whole network. And the other event that I mentioned when I came in December is the second Global Sustainable Transport Conference, which will be held in Beijing. We are currently discussing with the host country and the Office of the Secretary General for dates, potentially last quarter of 2021. But you know, also we'll keep you updated on those events. You have all the links as well for those. I'll go to the next one. So what I wanted to bring to your attention today is the high-level dialogue on energy. This is one that we will be working very closely, that we are really aiming to bring a very multi-stakeholder approach and participation. I'm sharing a little bit of information, but I'm also, as I said, if there is interest, we can even organize like a bilateral, more in-depth discussion about the different elements of this event.
So, Nayara, I think we are even ready to organize specific sessions if there is interest. We are making such a big effort to get an organized constituency here. We will really facilitate that for you. So can you focus now on the high level event, please?
Yes. So we can. So if I can see the slides, they are gone.
Coming back.
Okay. Thank you. So you see that there will be 5 themes, and I won't go through the details. So those will be how they will be organizing in the substantive discussions. We can also move to the next one, please. I put the links because you see that there is a list of global team champions, and this is national governments taking the lead on some of these specific themes. The list is being updated every day. I think yesterday there were around 20 countries, so I really recommend you to go and check for your countries that are on the list. And there are technical working groups that have been identified, and they are starting to work on the substantive part of the energy dialogue. And one of the major elements and the main outcomes of the energy high-level dialogue will be the energy compact arrangements. And we can go to the next one. And those, they are the mobilization around those, it's just starting. So what are those? They are voluntary commitments coming from stakeholders from all sectors, and they need to be aligned with existing commitments. And it's about ambition, it's about finance, it's about investment, it's about change. I think this is one element that we could consider working together very closely in mobilizing energy compacts from interested local and regional governments. So I think those will be my slides. Yeah. I know it's super quick, and I know we don't have time. Oh no, yes, I forgot. I just wanted to call
It really needs to be in 1 minute, Nayara.
It is. Sorry, I just want to call your attention to the open call for for the SDG good practices. Really encourage local and regional governments to submit. We are extending the deadline until the 14th of March, and all the information and the links are in the PowerPoint presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nayara. And I want to recall, colleagues, that we circulated this call after our preparatory meeting last year. And I know that many of the networks have been circulating the call. It's good to know that it has been postponed so that we have more opportunity to promote answers to that. Sorry, Nayara, for rushing you, but as I said, we will probably need to organize additional sessions on the specific, and we're really very open to do that. Colleagues, you have received a wealth on information. Obviously, we will need to pay specific attention to the specific processes, as we were saying. That's also our intention. We are also very open to discuss with you what the strategies need to be for the different processes. As Gino and Greg were saying in their introductory remarks, it's very important that we are seeing as a constituency. Of course, all of us will be making use of our bilateral contacts, and measures will be reached individually, and all of that will continue to happen. But if we want our strength as constituency to become even bigger, if we want that next step to be taken, if we want to have a seat at the table, it will not be 27 seats. We will need to do it together, as Mayor Fansan and Beb and others were saying. So I really hope that we can keep each other updated on this, and also that the United Nations, the colleagues here in the room, understand that if we are inviting them to a platform like this one, is to ensure that there is a collective dialogue, and that we build on that to enhance the representation. So I told you we were going to be late, and we are. And since that is unavoidable, what I'm proposing to you is, if you still have some comments to make, please do make them. And otherwise, I would like to give the floor to Kate Brick, the Deputy Executive Director of the Mayor's Migration Council. We are very happy to have you with us. But again, a couple of minutes to see whether any other colleague would like to make general comments or refer back to any presentations that were made. I don't see hands. And you would need to raise the hand because very difficult to see you all. We're a lot of people. The blue hand of the Zoom. If nobody is there, and think about it, you still have an opportunity until we wrap up. Then I would give the floor to Kate. Welcome to the Global Task Force, Kate.
Thank you so much, Emilia. It's such a pleasure to be here with this really incredible group of champions. And as members of the Global Task Force. So I wanted to just quickly share some of the work that we've been doing at the Mayor's Migration Council and will be doing in the coming year in partnership with many of you towards the priorities that we've been talking about today. Just for background, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Mayor's Migration Council, we are a mayor-led advisory and advocacy organization that empowers cities to influence international policy on migration and refugee issues, ultimately with the goal of unlocking resources to flow back to cities to support their work. Over the past 2 years, we've worked really closely with Uclg and the IOM to ensure an equal seat at the table for local governments at the state-led Global Forum on Migration and Development. And we really saw that work pay off, especially this year. At the annual GFMD summit that happened last month, cities were given an unprecedented level of access and representation. They sat side by side with national governments and used that opportunity to draw attention to critical issues like universal access to healthcare during and after the pandemic, economic inclusion of migrants, and municipal access to international funding, which I know we've talked about today already. We are going to continue to open space for direct dialogue between local and national governments, especially as we prepare for two major UN events in the next few years, the review of the Global Compact for Migration in 2022, and the review of the Global Compact on Refugees in 2023. We are also going to continue our focus on elevating the impacts of COVID-19 on local governments and their most vulnerable populations, advocating that more international funding go directly to cities to ensure that pandemic response and recovery efforts leave no one behind. Working in partnership with UCLG, IOM, UN Habitat, and UNHCR, this year we established a Global Cities Fund for Inclusive Pandemic Response to give cities direct support for their projects to address the needs of the migrant, refugee, and IDP community. Last month, we announced our 5 inaugural grantees: Beirut, Barranquilla, Freetown, Lima, and Mexico City. These selected projects reflect diverse approaches to an inclusive pandemic response, from direct cash assistance to social inclusion to sustainable and green job creation. But we know that 5 cities is just a drop in the bucket. It's not enough. So we are going to be working with our partners and hopefully many of you to call on the international community and states to channel their resources to support at least 22 cities in low to middle income countries by the end of 2022 to continue this inclusive pandemic response. These are the sorts of joint advocacy efforts that we hope to bolster and expand through the Global Task Force. And we also hope to use this platform to elevate other key areas that directly intersect with migration and refugee issues in cities. We've talked about this a lot today, but specifically the impacts of climate change on migration and displacement, and promoting equitable and just climate action and sustainable development. So with partners like C40, we'll be working to advance a global agenda towards COP26 that recognizes that cities are on the front lines where all of these forces are intersecting and are leaders when it comes to developing approaches that prioritize resilience, inclusion, and growth. So thank you again, Emilia, and all of you for welcoming us into this family. We're really looking forward to working with you on these and many other issues that are priorities to cities.
Thank you very much, Kate. You know, UCLG put migration on the agenda of the Global Task Force some time back. We think it's a very, very relevant issue to bring as constituency to the international community. We are very happy to have you with us. You know, we share a space in the mayoral mechanism. Also, we are doing a lot of work together, and we are delighted to contribute to the fund that you have set up. So there is a lot of work ahead, and I am certain many organizations of the Global Task Force will be joining us in our efforts. Thank you, Kate, again. Quick. I am going to Eugene Zapata from 100 Resilient Cities. Eugene, welcome to the Global Task Force, old friend.
Thank you very much, Emilia, and hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our friends, our colleagues from the Global Task Force. I am representing the Resilient Cities Network. Just to precise that we are the second phase of what used to be the 100 Resilient Cities program that was, as you probably all know, pioneered by the Rockefeller Foundation. This program was finalized as a program back in the summer of 2019, and the Resilient Cities Network constituted itself as an independent, autonomous city network from October of last year. We are very happy to have now a board of directors who is presided by the Honorable Mayor of Houston, Texas. We also have the Mayor of Rotterdam, the Mayor of Sydney among our board members. We're still building our board. And just to say that the new Resilient Cities Network is a network that has 4 principles. First, it's city-led, as many of the organizations present here in the Global Task Force. We are governed by our cities. We have a global steering committee where 10 chief resilient officers from cities across our network in 5 continents sit, and they orient our policy. Our second principle is that we are regionally driven. The network, as you probably remember, the 100 Resilient Cities program had a global approach. All of our member cities went through the same pathway. Now we are more open to a flexible approach to resilience on a regional level. We still keep our regional offices in Asia Pacific, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, North America, and Latin America. So we're going to be very active on those regions. Our third principle is that we are impact driven. The 100 Resilient Cities program was very much focused on capacity building. We were building resilience offices across the world and publishing resilience strategies. Now we're no longer doing this. We are working on specific projects. And our fourth partnership is that we are no longer the sole child of the Rockefeller Foundation. We still have a very significant support from the foundation, but we have also new funding partners and new programmatic partners. So we're very happy to be part of Global Task Force. We announced back in the World Urban Forum in Abu Dhabi that we were open to 10 new members, and we are still in conversations to announce, hopefully very soon, our new members. So just finishing here, thank you, Emilia. Thank you for inviting us, and super happy to be part of the larger family of local and regional governments among so many friends. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Eugene. I think you will see many of our long-standing friends are still around, even if some of them moved places. The family has grown. We are many more now. But we are very, very much aligned and working well together. Welcome to the Global Task Force indeed. Colleagues, very quick word on next steps. We are proposing a structural process for the World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments. We are proposing 3 preparatory meetings this year. 2 of them not necessarily at political level, somewhere in May, another one in July at the high level political forum environment, and one last one at the second quarter of the year. We suggest to prepare messages together for this in line with what Gino and Greg were saying. We propose to develop a joint policy recommendation for the events that have been on the agenda today. And we will certainly organize technical meetings with you all on these specific events as we go ahead. You will continue receiving our emails on coordination, registration for different issues. We are very open for you to put things on the agenda, to ask us to facilitate meeting environments. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for this meeting, and please stay for our learning proposals. We have a new platform that we hope you can all learn from and contribute to. Thank you very, very much. Just 2 minutes so that the learning team can come in and we continue the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Just see you in a little while again. I promised we would be quick. And here we are back. Thank you for joining us to this session of Learning with UCLG. Throughout the week, we have been trying to open up our windows to have you with us at home. We have tried to make an environment that has made you feel all the hacks that we want to give you, even if you cannot be with us. And we are, to close the week, we are proposing to you that you learn with UCLG. We are much stronger together, and our power is the one that we need to implement learning, researching, and advocating. So thank you, colleagues, for joining us back, and thank you, learning team, for making it to this late Friday afternoon. Welcome. We are in your hands. Sarah.
Thank you so much, Emilia, and thank you all out there. I see a lot of people, a lot of known faces from very different angles. We have met in conferences, we have met in the office, we have met in regional section, but also we have met you in trainings, because many of the people today here are actually our trainers. So I think during the retreat, it was a full week, but it was very rich for us as UCLG team, and I think I speak on behalf of all the colleagues. It was so exciting to feel the sections, to feel the enthusiasm, to feel the concern, to feel how connected we are, how we much need each other. So this, of course, is for us a mandate, because as you know, learning is one of the areas of UCLG is a very practical area where we hope that policy, messages, advocacy can really create impact in the many, many territories, in the many, many communities, in the many cities, and in the many villages that call themselves our members. So for us, it's really nice to be here today. I just recall very briefly what learning is about. You can say the golden three. Our strategy is based actually on 3 pillars. So the first one is peer-to-peer learning. This is very important. Maybe this year it was very, very difficult for us to continue, but we made the shift. We brought peer learning virtual, and we also were able to read many, many lessons and to understand how important is actually the methodology for practice if we want them to be implemented. So the other pillar is the learning forum. This forum, as Emilia said, this was an idea actually she pushed very much for this forum, because the forum is the ground. It is like a small community in the big UCLG community where we touch each other's ideas. We look what you are doing. We try to promote. We try really to co-create, and also to filter a little bit what is relevant and what is urgent. So this learning community, the main work of this community is the training of trainers and localizing the global agendas. So we will now, after a short exercise with you, go into this. And the other part, which is new to you, and we will show you a little bit more of insight. It was announced in the first day of our retreat by Fernando, our e-learning platform, and many of you we have seen already have looked into our courses and mocks and mini mocks, and what is all this you will know hopefully after this session, and we hope you step into, because many of you and many of our members, many of the sections are doing really great work, and sometimes it's really only the last step or the last mile to make all this work and all this knowledge accessible, easy to understand, and also an important element to bring new members and practitioners of the global community of municipalities to us. So I say this, I would like to ask my colleague Juan Carlos to guide us through a small exercise of Mentimeter. Juan Carlos.
Muchas gracias, Sara. Y sí, bueno, como todos ustedes saben, nos gusta interactuar con ustedes, así sea de manera virtual. Así que los invitamos a entrar a menti.com y usar el código 6098619 para explorar un poco qué es aprendizaje con CGLU. Y la primera pregunta que les tenemos es aprendizaje de por sí. ¿Qué es para ustedes en una palabra aprendizaje? ¿Qué se les ocurre cuando piensan en aprendizaje en general? Les recordamos el código este es 6098619 en menti.com. Compartir, desarrollo personal, conocimiento, enriquecedor. Abrir la mente, ciertamente, explorar cosas, perspectivas nuevas.
And fun.
Divertido, algo que
fun.
es muy importante para nosotros y que esperemos que lo entiendan y se les transmita.
Improvement.
Capacity building, purpose in life, self-development. Es mucho más allá de conocimiento, creo que es algo importante. Y la primera palabra que salió fue compartir, que creo que es algo que veremos mucho durante esta sesión. Vamos ahora a la segunda pregunta, que es, en realidad, cuando pensamos en aprender con CGLU o aprender dentro de CGLU, aquí escogimos algunas opciones de lo que creemos que ustedes buscan aprendiendo en CGLU y les queremos preguntar que escojan las 3 más relevantes. Y si hay otras, que usen el chat y nos digan, cuando piensan en aprender con CGLU, ¿qué es lo que buscan? Aprender de agendas globales y su relevancia a nivel local es algo que venimos hablando a lo largo del retiro. Las herramientas de facilitación, sobre todo ahora en un mundo digital, es algo que hemos visto que muchos de nuestros formadores quieren aprender. El análisis de buenas prácticas, la cooperación descentralizada, algo que exploraremos más en la sesión de hoy. Está muy igualado,
¿eh?
Y sí, creo que está muy igualado, así que nos gusta y nos gustaría mucho escuchar sus propuestas e ideas sobre otras cosas que no tenemos en la mente nosotros. Vamos a la tercera.
Bueno, hay pocas cosas que no tenemos en mente, de acuerdo a los que han participado.
Y bueno, esta es una pregunta sobre este último año y es cómo el aprendizaje dentro de su red o en nuestra red ha cambiado. Y creo que esto, bueno, lo vamos a dejar abierto para que nos digan. Creo que personalmente para nosotros explorar herramientas de cómo mantener la interacción abierta, algo divertido, herramientas que vayan más allá de esta relación entre pantallas y que nos haga pensar, analizar, jugar en este espacio virtual. Es algo que venimos explorando y que espero que muchos de los que nos han acompañado en las diferentes capacitaciones hayan visto. Creo que virtual es una de las cosas que va a aparecer más acá. Casos prácticos.
I like faster. Because everything has become faster. The exchange is faster, right? I mean, it has been a speed up of things.
Ciertamente, sí.
Yeah.
O sea, creo que sobre todo al principio, cuando recogimos todas las prácticas de todas las diferentes ciudades, fue algo que salió muy rápido y que todas las ciudades estaban compartiendo. También algo que personalmente creo es que nos ha permitido descubrir más allá de nuestra red central y de nuestros contactos centrales y llegar más allá a través de la digitalización a lugares más remotos, y creo que eso lo queremos explorar durante esta sesión al final.
There's also a point on more solidarity, very interesting. So that was an effort, and I think the whole retreat, the effort of the retreat and this format is a little bit about this, so very nice to see this.
Y sí, bueno, el último que también, more networking and engagement. Creo que también eso es algo que queremos mantener, así sea virtual o físicamente, en los próximos meses y años. Muchas gracias por participar en este ejercicio que nos abre a esta sesión de qué es aprendizaje sobre CGLU, y ahora los dejo con Sara para la primera parte de nuestra sesión. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Juan Carlos, y como veo aquí que todos ustedes tienen la cámara encendido, qué bonito. También, por favor, recuerdan que en el equipo de aprendizaje, el Learning Team, somos más. Está Juan Carlos, que él es muy skilled, es muy listo en todas las metodologías nuevas, pero su tema principal es resiliencia. Tenemos Fernando, que él ya presentará su tema. María Fernanda, que María Alejandra, perdón, que es nueva en el equipo y que va a trabajar con nosotros el módulo 4, que ahora haremos un pequeño punto sobre esto, de localización de SDG y cooperación descentralizada. Tenemos una stagiaire que ha acompañado todo el retiro, Julia Monroe, y también un secondment de Seoul, Jung Yoon. Así que el equipo es más grande de lo que ven aquí, pero como siempre decimos, no ese es el equipo son todos ustedes y solamente así vamos a poder hacer. Entonces, el primer punto, el pequeño bloque que queríamos ahora referirnos es los módulos. Los módulos es una particular historia que hicimos un primer módulo y fue interesante porque el equipo de research empujó mucho que hiciésemos esta parte un poco más, un training sobre localización. Y poco a poco desarrollamos eso y hemos visto que ha encajado gracias a todas las experiencias que hemos recogido de antemano. Entonces los módulos, como dice el nombre, es un formato de aprendizaje, pero es un aprendizaje abierto, no es el clásico conocimiento de alguna información que tiene que entrar a sus cabezas. La idea del aprendizaje es, como ya venimos hace muchos años trabajando, trabajar sobre la experiencia, porque cada adulto, y eso no solo soy yo, todos los que trabajan en lifelong learning lo saben, entre más es conectado con mi emoción, con mi trabajo, con mis desafíos, mejor aprendo. Entonces, ahora tenemos una pequeña recuerdo y también un look forward de lo que han sido los módulos ODS. Tenemos 3 módulos, como ustedes recuerdan. El primero, introducción; segundo, planificación; tercero, monitoreo. Tenemos el número 4 que fue anunciado esta mañana por Sarah de plataforma y que la próxima semana les vemos todos, esperamos, para que escuchen ese lanzamiento. Y también creo que es importante recordar que tenemos un módulo muy, muy especial que no tiene nombre sino online, pero realmente eso es un curso que hacemos ya por 2 años con la Diputación de Barcelona, que es la localización de los ODS en un formato online, con en total 250 facilitadores formados por el equipo. Entonces, esto es un tesoro porque esos facilitadores no son cualquier persona, son personas que trabajan en el municipio, que mueven agendas, y aquí tenemos una persona de estas con nosotros. Entonces, primero quisiéramos dar la palabra a Mercedes. Mercedes trabaja con la Federación Española de Municipio. Creo que no requiere más introducción. Mercedes, nos gustaría mucho que tú nos des un pequeño feedback. ¿Cómo ves el aprendizaje? ¿Qué debería hacer CGLU o para que ayude a la localización y crear impacto en tus miembros? ¿Y qué rol tiene el aprendizaje? Mercedes, por favor.
Sí. Muchas gracias, Sara. Y bueno, aprovecho un segundo para felicitar y daros las gracias por toda esta semana, ¿no?, en la que hemos aprendido mucho, y me parece estupendo que la finalicemos con una sesión sobre aprendizaje, porque es lo que llevamos haciendo toda la semana. A ver, para nosotros los módulos, y además hemos participado en todos los módulos y en todos los trainings que habéis hecho, creo que no solamente nos ayudan a nosotros como, ¿no?, trabajadores, miembros de la federación, sino que nos hemos convertido, gracias a esa formación y a esos módulos, también una cadena de transmisión hacia nuestros asociados, ¿no? Veo en la pantalla que hay asociados nuestros y yo creo que ellos son plenamente conscientes de ello. Lo que permiten los módulos es realmente descender y localizar desde CGLU hacia cada uno de los ayuntamientos, diputaciones, gobiernos locales de las distintas asociaciones. Ese ha sido nuestro caso. Nosotros los módulos de localización de los ODS los incorporamos a nuestra formación propia, marcada en nuestra estrategia de formación de la casa a cargos electos y técnicos de la federación. Y bueno, ha sido todo un éxito. Entonces, por tanto, creo que el aprendizaje es básico porque también elaborados desde una visión global nos ha hecho aterrizar y acercar, ¿no?, a los técnicos municipales lo que significa localizar los ODS desde la experiencia, ¿no? Y además creo que cuando podía ser presencial estaba muy basado en el intercambio y en la practicidad, ¿no? Con lo que eso también ayuda el hecho de transmitir, ¿no?, toda esta información. El impacto yo creo que lo tenéis porque todo el mundo quiere utilizar los módulos de CGLU para sus propias formaciones, con lo que yo creo que el impacto está ahí y está mostrado. Y terminar porque es muy tarde y creo que tienen que hablar más personas. Yo os invito, ¿no?, al resto veo que hay 136 personas conectadas, os invito a aquellos que no lo hayáis utilizado que forméis parte, ¿no?, de estos cursos de formación, de estos training, porque no solamente es formación, decíais, aprendemos y aprendemos también nuestras debilidades. Y el último, esto sí que son los 30 segundos, antes que Emilia me saque la mano, es el último, ¿no?, el de resiliencia. Yo participé hace, creo, ya no sé, porque esta semana ha sido muy intensa, creo que fue la semana pasada. Aprendimos mucho con las nuevas tecnologías, ¿no? Y yo creo que eso CGLU lo habéis incorporado muy bien, esa otra forma de comunicar a través de esta pantalla. Y eso para nosotros, para mí, que trabajo en la federación, es algo que ya me llevo como aprendizaje para incorporar en nuestra propia estrategia de formación y trasladárselo a mis compañeros, ¿no? Por tanto, no puedo decir más que el impacto existe, que somos cadena de transmisión de la formación y que nos viene muy bien deslocalizar esa formación hacia el territorio. Y felicidades a todos vosotros. Y gracias por contar conmigo.
Muchas gracias, Mercedes. Definitivamente el aprendizaje y el tema de los módulos, donde más nos esforzamos y más demoramos porque probamos y probamos, es la parte lúdica. Y eso es precisamente cuando hablamos de educación, tenemos que recordar que todos somos niños, todos somos seres humanos, y jugando se aprende muchísimo y más cuando se hace en grupo. Entonces, aquí tenemos también un ejemplo de Latinoamérica, David Santiago con nosotros. David, ¿cómo ha sido tu experiencia y qué estás haciendo también? ¿Qué significa tu ciudad en CGLU, no solamente en aprendizaje?
Hola. Bueno, primero que nada, un saludo a todos los colegas presentes. Muchas gracias por la invitación a participar en este foro. Felicitar estos espacios para los entrenadores de CGLU, somos varios. Realmente una de las cosas más importantes del formar en localización de ODS es que también podemos generar sinergias y articulación con más redes municipalistas, ¿no? No solamente el tema del aprendizaje está en metodologías de formación, sino también en las redes que nosotros podemos generar, ¿no?, e integrar a diversos actores dentro de este proceso formativo. Pues yo soy un formador de CGLU desde que estuve en Quito, en la municipalidad de Quito, en el periodo de Hábitat 3, donde abrimos un proceso de formación para distintos grupos de funcionarios municipales basados en el módulo número 1 de introducción a la localización de ODS. Y fue una experiencia bastante interesante porque justamente recalcar lo que decía Sara al inicio, ¿no?, que la parte lúdica, la parte digamos, de contacto con la gente es muy importante en estos procesos de aprendizaje, y las herramientas que he presentado Learning CGLU van en esa línea, ¿no? Hay varios juegos de roles, juegos de memoria, que digamos en un formato presencial del entrenamiento es súper importante. Y pues bueno, ahora yo estoy, digamos, en otro proceso de formación en otra ciudad de mi país, en la ciudad de Cuenca, una ciudad intermedia. Como, bueno, no todos conocerán, pero una de las conferencias preparatorias de Hábitat 3 se llevó a cabo aquí en Cuenca, donde se emitió la declaración de Cuenca acerca de el rol que juegan las ciudades intermedias en el desarrollo sostenible y en la discusión de la nueva agenda urbana. Dentro de ese proceso, pues obviamente nosotros hemos visto que la formación en la localización de los ODS, usando estas herramientas que nos provee SGLU, nos sirve a nosotros como estrategia incluso de la cooperación descentralizada, ¿no? De los programas de cooperación, y como les decía, ¿no? Que la formación no solamente integre actores locales dentro del proceso de localizar, sino también crear alianzas con redes municipalistas, ¿no? Bueno, me acabó el tiempo, pero espero haberles respondido algunas preguntas acerca de mi experiencia. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, David, por esta reflexión desde Cuenca, que definitivamente es una ciudad importante, un líder en CGLU, y no solamente el alcalde, sino hay 4.000, por ejemplo, en Cuenca creo que entrenan 1.000 personas, líderes comunitarios, en lo que es la localización. Entonces, eso obviamente hace que toda la ciudad vibra las ODS y probablemente más agendas. Bueno, para ahora, antes de ir a la e-platform, quisiera pedir, I will switch to English. I would like to invite two of my co-fellows, very known. You already have seen them both in the retreat. So we have Jesse Post from the CIB Capacity Building Working Group with us. Jesse, maybe just very shortly about learning and the work of association. You saw now for association, capacity building and learning and training is becoming more important. So how can we connect, or how do we connect, and what is your view for next year?
Thank you, Sarah. Glad to be speaking with you, even though it's already almost Friday evening and weekend. I speak to you on behalf of the Capacity and Institution Building Working Group, one of the working groups of UCLG. It's a network of practitioners who work on local government development cooperation programs, so programs where capacity building and institution building stand central. And it's aimed at increasing development effectiveness through collaboration and coordination and learning together. So a true peer community, and therefore also very aligned to the UCLG learning team. So we work together already in a variety of themes. Association capacity building is indeed one of the core topics, because many of the members are associations of local governments, and they work with associations of local governments in their programs in other countries in the world. Topics which have gained interest of our members for these programs in the past years are notably gender equality at local level and how to better integrate this in the work we do, access to finance, working on the SDGs, of course, in the ongoing programs, and more generally, how to monitor, evaluate, and learn through our programs in view of further improvement. Two remarks which I wanted to share here today with you is that, well, Sarah and her team and CIB have talked about this already in other occasions too. I believe that the CIB network is potentially also a network of people who can train others. For the moment, we haven't really tapped into that potential, but it's something we could perhaps explore in the well, next year or years. And a very different remark, which I do want to place. I don't know if this is the space, but one challenge we see in the CIB network is that we produce a lot of modules and products and other materials, or co-produce them, but that we always use very similar case studies. And well, I have a question to this community of how we move on beyond the usual suspects and really come to the innovative ideas. So that's a learning question I have. Thank you, Sarah.
And we take these questions up in the 2 points to come in. But first, Nayat, you are in Rabat. You have a huge community of followers in your ALGA. Please, Nayat, let us know what is a little bit your thinking and the way ahead, also for co-creating and connecting in the UCLG network.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Good evening or good morning or good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be with you representing UCLG Africa Academy ALGA. I think, as you mentioned, our noble mission and mandate is to empower the human capital at local and regional level and community level to allow them to become the superpower, as Emilia used to say. And for this, we need to rely on a very diverse methodology. We need to rely on partners. We need to rely on a cohort of trainers and to take into account the context, the funding, the resources we have, the tools we have, and here the importance of co-creating and co-constructing between UCLG at the headquarters of at global level and also at regional level. So today, and this is one of the lessons learned from the COVID-19, we try to go hybrid and giving the majority of our efforts to the digital. For this, since last year, we have now our also, and it's online with your vision, an e-learning platform within UCLG Africa, and we will ask for your help to support us to identify expertise tools to avoid reinventing the wheel. If there is any good experience existing within the regional section, we are keen to contact them and to work with them hand in hand as a family, because this is the DNA of our family, is to support each other, to assist each other, and to help and share and care. The second challenge is to maintain this cohort of trainers. And this is a matter of motivation also. And I would like to suggest to Emilia why we cannot wonder to create a global cohort of volunteers. We have so many elected officials around the world, so many former territorial managers, experts, professors, lecturers. We can make a call and we can rely on this voluntary power to help and empower our members and our national association, whether in Africa or in the other regions. So to conclude, really we are very happy to work hand in hand with the team of Sarah and with CIB and all this, the regional section of UCLG. We use your methodology, we try to adapt it, and the next step, I guess, is this new model 4 on decentralized cooperation. With my colleague Charles, we make sure to disseminate this new achievement and to continue our wonderful journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nayat. And I think some of your points we will take now on board when we talk about e-learning. Maybe to close this insight on our learning modules, Also in resilience, we have 1+1 because we have one module many of you have already tested. It's really nice and it's very up to time because everybody talks about resilience. And actually, we have found a lot of initiative and a lot of action through this learning being motivated. And the second module will be for cities. So we are very happy to work also maybe with the Global Task Force on these modules because it is really timely and we do all this work together with the United Nations. So in the SDG stream, we have a partner, UNDP Art and UN Habitat, and in the resilience modules, UN Habitat and UNDRR. That is, of course, also pushing to go to scale. So you will hear from this. But now let's take the time to look a little bit into the e-learning. This came up several times. How do we connect better? We have seen diversity of fields. Everybody has interest in everything. So not the methodology of modules or that frame because they have an agenda behind is not interesting for everything. But we have seen that with the e-learning and the online learning, and in particular the MOOC, we can address all the fields local government find relevant. And my colleague Fernando will guide you through this segment. Fernando.
Muchísimas gracias, Sara. Un gusto estar con ustedes acá, viendo tantos amigos. Antes de empezar la parte acerca de la plataforma, me gustaría también comentar un último punto acerca de la facilitación de facilitadores, ¿no? Que David ha mencionado, pero es que es la parte de la certificación común que estamos haciendo ya con los cursos en línea, pero es muy importante también que nosotros en esta multiplicación de entrenadores pensemos en cómo continuar trabajando juntos después de la segunda multiplicación de entrenadores, ¿no? Porque ahí creamos realmente una red que puede ayudarse y puede crecer junto. Bueno, entonces, empezando la parte acerca de la plataforma Learning with Uclg, ¿no? Voy a explicar más o menos cómo funciona muy rápidamente en 2 minutos acá, o qué es, cómo funciona, para partirmos para 2 ejemplos concretos de procesos que están en marcha ahora, ¿no? Entonces, básicamente la plataforma, ella permite formatear y hospedar, ¿no? Los cursos masivos que no tienen límite de participantes, abiertos, que son gratuitos, y en línea, que permiten una experiencia individual, ¿no? Cada uno puede hacer en su ritmo propio, en su orden propia, ¿no? Escoger sus propios contenidos y cursos, ¿no? Entonces, ella también permite anunciar y enlazar otros materiales y actividades de nuestra comunidad de aprendizaje, ¿no? Entonces, ahí también puede pasar por el próximo slide, Ale, por favor. Que también ahí la plataforma permite, por ejemplo, divulgar webinars o actividades, ¿no? Como ha hecho CIB, por ejemplo, el año pasado, como ha hecho Metrópolis esta semana, como los materiales de cultura, ¿no? Entonces, ella es adaptable de acuerdo con el tipo de actividad y de contenido también. ¿Cómo puede funcionar, ¿no? ¿Cómo funcionó este proceso de creación de la plataforma? Fue a partir de un aprendizaje entre pares, ¿no? En verdad fue a partir del grande proceso de los LLI del año pasado, ¿no? Que fue un proceso muy importante de aprendizaje entre pares acerca de los servicios públicos locales en la pandemia. Y a partir de este rico conocimiento e intercambio generado, nosotros hemos intentado contar esta historia de una manera sencilla, con los contenidos explicados en cada tema, ¿no? Y ahí ofrecer también quizzes y ejercicios para el conocimiento y un survey al final, ¿no? Entonces esa fue nuestra primera experiencia, que es una experiencia que aprovecha ya una aprendizaje entre par ya establecida, ¿no? Entonces nuestro segundo caso es este curso, esta serie de mini MOOCs actual, ¿no? Que es un poco nuestro flagship, porque es una serie de cursos también a partir de materiales ya existentes, que son los módulos de formación, ¿no? Y ahí también cuento con la participación, y ahí también podemos ver la participación de nuestros compañeros de policy, de research, en los módulos 1, 2 y 3 también con nosotros, ¿no? Entonces también mostró un poco la integración no solo de los temas, pero también de las personas. Y ahí ahora estamos en una próxima fase extendida ya a la participación y ya en marcha con cursos en línea producidos por las comisiones o observatorios nuestros, ¿no? Entonces acá tenemos, y ahí voy a pedir para, infelizmente, ser muy breves, dos casos específicos. Uno del curso en línea que está preparando el Observatorio de Finanzas Locales a partir de sus materiales ya existentes y de su propia plataforma. Entonces, él va a integrar los conocimientos que ahí están, que están siendo generados, con tipos de materiales también nuevos, ¿no? La segunda que voy, y ahí pido a Sergio y a Paloma para en 5 minutos máximo, tal vez 2 minutos cada uno, presentar un poco cómo surgió eso y cómo está yendo el proceso de construcción. Y el segundo caso es el caso de la Comisión de Desarrollo Económico Local, que también va a tener un proceso de construcción de un curso en línea a partir de un curso, de un MOOC, a partir de un curso en línea que ellos ya han realizado, ¿no? Entonces, con materiales y con vídeos de este curso en línea ya realizado, que también son ejemplos para inspirar un poco otros actores de nuestra familia de aprendizaje. Entonces, paso la palabra a Sergio y a Paloma. Vous avez 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît. Sergio, merci pour être ici.
Thank you, Fernando. I will be very brief and just and leave Paloma to explain a bit more what it is all about. But just wanted first to congratulate the learning team for these new tools offered. We have a wealth of information, of knowledge available among the membership and the Uclg Secretariat, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to try and disseminate this knowledge in new ways, no? More appropriate in this virtual world that we're now living. And second, to say that, well, for us, you know, we've been working on this observatory for quite a lot of years in partnership with OECD. We've gathered a lot of information on finances around the world in more than 120 countries, on local finance, local government finance, the challenges faced by local governments on these issues. And I mean, this exercise gives us the opportunity to try and reach out to wider public, and it obliges us also to be more concise and maybe to give, I mean, what is at the core of what the messages we would like to convey, which is not always possible. We have a website, you know, with all the information gathered. It's a bit complex sometimes. So, I mean, just to simplify this and to reach out to wider audience. Just this I wanted to say, and thank you once again for the opportunity that you've given us. I mean, to be able to share this wealth of knowledge that we've gathered around local government finance. Paloma.
Thank you, Serge, for this introduction. I will just quickly present the MOOC on local finance that we are creating in this same moment. So first of all, the timing was perfect with the launching of this new platform, Learning with UCLG, because we have The first report of the World Observatory was published in 2019, and before the upcoming next publication in 2022, we decided to create this MOOC to share more on the knowledge of local finance, all the findings that we have gathered. But the second simultaneous objective that we have with this MOOC is not only to share the information, the content and the knowledge, but also to share the own source of information that is the World Observatory. And this means that in order to reach these two objectives, these two simultaneous objectives, we have tried to design a particular and innovative MOOC. So first of all, in terms of content, we will cover the most important topics, subnational government revenues, expenditure, and also external financing. But we also want to offer bonus videos with new, less common maybe, or specific tendencies. So these will be very short videos on specific mechanisms related to local finance to cover more topics. Also, we will have each part of the course intercalated with exercises so that the participants can put into practice what they have learned. But the particularity is that the answers to the questions will not only come from the course, but will also be found on the website of the World Observatory. So this will mean that by the end of the course, participants should be able to handle the database of the World Observatory. So we are planning to offer the course in a text format so that participants can read the course, but also listen to it through podcasts or even just see a visual summary in infographics. And we are currently designing it hand in hand with the learning team of UCLG, who has been helping us with their prior experience with the LLE first MOOC. So please let us know if there are other subjects of MOOC that you want for us to create. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge. Thank you, Paloma. Now it was very, very interesting, but we have short time to comment on that, but in the end we can comment more, and we'll pass the floor to Paula to explain a little bit the process of the forum. Please, Paula.
Hello, colleagues. I want to take the opportunity as well to quickly congratulate you for this whole week of fruitful discussions, and thank you for making us feel a little bit closer for some days, even if it was virtually. For the committee and also for FAMSI, training and capacity building activities have become more and more relevant within our actions for a long time ago. So thanks to these e-learning tools, we have been able to incorporate to our work a multiplicity of actors. And this has facilitated training processes and the exchange of knowledge through different formats. In our case, usually through our virtual learning platform, which is called Aula Solidaria, and that offers many possibilities. It is a Moodle platform. And our trainings are usually addressed to local and regional government professionals, both in Andalusia and in our partners and members' country homes. And topics are linked to our working areas, such as local economic development, local competencies, institutional strengthening, SDGs, and many others. They are usually mentored by teachers with both academic and professional profiles, because we try to make it useful for local professionals, for local governments and regional professionals. And we care that part of reality, the exchange or peer learning that we believe is what the student gets, and also their own input, which we believe it's really, really valuable, the learning from each other. We have worked with a variety of formats and methodologies, going from 30 hours online courses to 300-hour certificate programs, combining face-to-face and online classes. And we also find very, very valuable in the training courses developed in partnership with other entities, such as the ones we've carried out with Uclg or Uclg, for example. And the other important point is the collaboration with different universities, because that way we can get the university recognition, and that within that adds value to certain training processes. And now, as Fernando said, we are working on building the MOOC together with the learning team, taking advantage from the products and the feedback we obtained from the online training that we developed at the end of the year. It was called Innovation for Cohesive Territories in frame of recovery, of economic recovery. And it was a guided training in this case. Sorry, in this case, it consisted in 6 units, each one led by an expert on the topic, and we elaborated online materials to be studied from the students in an autonomous way, and also a live learning, a live session per unit. It was about 2 months long, and I think it was really intense for students, but I believe it provided an interesting space for exchange and knowledge and practice. So now that we already have that experience and some good outputs about what works and some points about what doesn't work as well, we would like to open it into a wider learning activity or alternative to be offered to more members and for an extended period of time. Yesterday, when Emilia spoke on the researching section about the importance of documents talking to each other, I thought as well on this link between learnings. And as Fernando said, I believe it would be very, very rich if we could connect the different learnings from this great network on the e-learning platform. So as to offer a broader and more diverse learning experience. I'm just finishing. So that's it. It will be something. I think it is something the learning team is already achieving in, and it would be a path of learning for us as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Paula. Ahora, antes de terminar, bueno, yo pido a todos, bueno, tendríamos muchas otras buenas ideas acá que están surgiendo, por ejemplo, la Comisión de Inclusión Social, Democracia Participativa, los cursos de accesibilidad y otros, ¿no? Que están también surgiendo en el chat. Yo propongo que si ustedes tienen ideas o demandas o otras dudas que puedan escribir en el chat durante la sesión, que podemos entrar en contacto. Y para concluir, yo pienso que yo tengo una metáfora que rara, pero que la plataforma de aprendizaje nuestra no es como un restaurante que tienen 2 opciones, ¿no? Que se puede escoger una u otra y tiene platos grandes, ¿no? Es como un restaurante vietnamita, por ejemplo, que tú tienes muchísimas opciones de platos pequeños y tú puedes elegir tu propio menú. Entonces, nuestra plataforma es un poco eso, ¿no? Estamos creando cada vez más cursos y opciones que son muchas veces muy cortas, pero sí, pero ofrecen al consumidor, a la persona que va a usufruir la plataforma, que puede escoger su propio menú dependiendo de las opciones, los intereses, las posibilidades. Entonces pido a todos que escriban ahí sus propios platos, que vamos pensando en el menú conjuntamente. Muchísimas gracias.
Yeah, that's already happening. I think people write a lot in the chat. We take note, and we are also there for you, so you can write us anytime. Just before going to that next part, and you all have many ideas, please share in the chat. If we have time, we do a round in the end of the session. Maybe now, just to have a little bit of political view, Carlos está con nosotros y ha levantado la mano, no queremos dejar pasar. Por favor, Carlos.
Bueno, buenas tardes de nuevo y desde la Resistencia, ¿no? Que sigue aquí a pie del cañón en los últimos minutos después de toda una semana larga, ¿no? Y viernes a última hora y antes incluso de que Emilia y todo el equipo nos vuelvan a mandar ya el recordatorio de la sesión que tenemos este próximo lunes. Única y exclusivamente ya no para trasladar una visión política, ¿no? Sino para trasladar un agradecimiento y una felicitación, ¿no? Agradecimiento y felicitación a todo el equipo de CGLU por esta semana intensísima de trabajo que nos ha hecho aportar y recibir, ¿no? Muchísimas ideas, muchísimas reflexiones, muchísimos planteamientos, ojalá para los territorios más necesitados, ¿no? Y para las personas que mayores desequilibrios y desigualdad tienen en todo el planeta, que no son pocas, ¿no? Dentro de Europa, fuera de Europa, en África y en todas las regiones a nivel internacional, sin olvidarme nunca de Latinoamérica. Y en segundo lugar, ¿no? Que creo que es merecido también, ¿no? Hoy han pasado en esta semana muchísima gente, ¿no? Aportando lo suyo, ¿no? Y tenemos también que acordarnos de los que se suman y han asumido otros cargos de responsabilidad, como antes ha dicho Emilia, ¿no? Y aquí tenemos a alguien que ha compartido durante los últimos 15 años mucho trabajo con nosotros y que ha formado y forma parte del equipo ahora con otra diferente responsabilidad, que es la anterior responsable de la Dirección Internacional de la Federación de Municipios, que a pesar de haber asumido ahora mismo otro reto importante, sigue al pie del cañón y está por aquí con todos nosotros, a la que le agradezco todo el trabajo que ha hecho durante los últimos retiros y todo lo que hemos aprendido de ella, ¿no? Poco más, Emilia. Muchísimas gracias, de verdad, por todo el trabajo y trasládaselo, por favor, a todos y cada uno de los integrantes del equipo. Gracias, como siempre, y nos vemos pronto.
Muchas gracias. Y definitivamente María Alejandra trae un enorme conocimiento del territorio.
Y Juana López, que está con nosotros.
Que está ahora cerca. Ahí está ahí, Juana, qué lindo. Una de las primeras que venía. I think she is really, in her heart, she is a trainer. And so great teacher, Juana, but you are a multitasker. So good luck in your new job from all of us.
Muchas gracias.
Okay, now please don't forget what you want to say, but let's go now to the next segment, which will be moderated by my colleague Juan Carlos.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So yes, like today we've talked about our training of trainers and our modules and kind of how to facilitate training within a network and to reach farther. We talked about this new tool, Learning with Uclg, online learning that we can do at our own pace. But in both of them, the issue of peer learning, which is at the heart of Learning with Uclg, came up. And I think we all miss, meeting each other, visiting a city and learning from their projects. And I think we've also learned how digital platforms kind of brings us closer, and we don't necessarily need to visit somewhere to learn from what they are doing, from the lessons from their projects, their policies. So I think there's a wide future of possibilities for peer learning within Uclg. And we wanted to kind of dedicate this last space to that. It's also a discussion that we've been having since Durban, where we were talking, how can we bring the knowledge that is already collected in the different platforms, observatories, all of the good practices, the awards, the One You Award, Culture, Peace, that bring up the practices from our members, from the local and regional governments all around the world. And how can we build on that, those experiences, and make more learning opportunities on that? The local for action hubs are definitely one of the efforts that we're trying to push and invite you all to join us on that. But then within the learning local for action hubs and around the different platforms and awards, how can we utilize peer learning to foster that implementation, looking into the next 10 years of the global agendas? For that, I would like to welcome Helmi from ASPAC, who I know it's midnight over there, but has been joining us, like many other members that are very close to the learning team in the Asia Pacific region, to tell us a little bit about how do you see the future of peer learning and how can we better utilize those good practices that we already, through the different observatories, are analyzing and documenting. Helmi.
Yeah, thank you,
Good evening, everyone here. Representing UCLG ASPAC, I'm going to share my knowledge regarding the experience and for the future learning. Congratulations once again for the learning team and Sarah and team. And I remember that when I was joining the first peer learning in Jakarta, like in 2017. So the methodology was very interactive, and also I believe that since that past year the learnings has been growing then with the new methodology, and then we know that using new platforms, and nowadays we use new digitals with the Zooms and others exercise or games tools, so it will be much more interesting. And for me, I think in the future we can also not only just like do as usual as an exercise and using this kind of platform, but also we can have an elaboration more with some partners in the regions. And also as I mentioned earlier, that in the previous that local government association has so many resources for that. And for example, in Asia Pacific, we have very active local government associations and network. So I believe that you have a platform, and you have also the methodology, good methodology for that. I believe that in the future we can utilize, and then we can also adopt more familiar with the some case studies in the region, I think. And based on the experience from the previous peer learning that we have in Surabaya in 2018, I think the peer learning node was also very helpful for cities who experience the major disaster, and to build their resiliency. That's some they need more knowledge, and also sharing platform, since we want to have a better plannings and better idea, and also recommendations, because of I think those recommendations can be specifics, more on the practicals, and also recommendation. I think that's the thing that Sarah, I think I want to raise. Those recommendations should be more applicable. And then I think also with using you have a lot of platform already, and then I just heard about the MOOC, and it will be more interesting. I saw that all the exercise that you have developed also is based on the new updated platform and these kind of things. And looking forward for me from UCLG ASPAC, and also in the next month, I think in March, we will have one peer learning workshop. And for in May, I think there will be also, we'll test the module for Palu because of, we have a program with GOV, and together we will use this kind of opportunity to test in the region. Thank you.
Yeah, like I think two things that are very important in what you mentioned is the role that local government associations that are strengthening can play on facilitating peer learning between associations as well as within. And I think something interesting that you mentioned on peer learning notes is how when we bring people together, there's new insights on the practices, and there's new lessons that maybe when you analyze it by yourself don't come out. So I think that's something that we can build on as we look forward on virtual or physical peer learnings. Now I would like to invite Alicia Balbo from the German Association of Cities. My last physical peer learning was with you in Niteroi on climate resilience. And even since then, we've been kind of working together, doing some peer learnings between associations, and following up on that climate resilient workshop in Latin America. And you have also been exploring new methodologies. So how do you see this new hybrid reality of peer learning, and what insights do you have to share with us? Ali.
Thanks, Juan Carlos. Hi, everyone, and nice to see a lot of familiar faces. And thanks for being here still for this learning session. So, from the perspective of the German Association of Cities, peer-to-peer learning is indeed like a focus methodology that we have been using a lot. Actually, it's like a central part of the work that German municipalities have been doing with their almost 1,000 municipal cooperation partnerships. The future that I see for peer learning is indeed, as you mentioned, a hybrid future. I think in the future, we're definitely going to look more closely into which activities really need to take place, like with live events and live visits, and which activities can actually happen in the digital space. But I also think there has been definitely a shift, as Serge was saying, when it comes to like which type of tools and also content we use for the peer-to-peer learning. Indeed, this switch that we have been seeing also with the UCLG learning platform has been very much into like creating shorter and more accessible content and like reducing the number of reports that we produce. And we have been experimenting with that quite a lot, creating podcasts and short videos, documenting good practices that can be shared then within our network. When it comes to how we can pull all of this together, of course, that's a bigger challenge. But as I've seen, like the conversation in the chat, there's definitely a lot of willingness to share this knowledge. And I think like going farther in pulling together the experiences and the materials that we have been kind of like bringing together as associations, but also within networks and municipality themselves. I think that's the way to go. And I think like the approach that UCLG is having in terms of cooperation is indeed the right way. When it comes to bringing people together, of course, like the peer-to-peer learning in the digital space probably leaves part of the networking aspects a bit behind, or at least they're not in the focus as it might be just having a nice coffee break, which I think we're all dreaming of in a live event. But I think as this retreat has shown us, there are the tools to make such interaction possible. There are the tools out there, and I think seeing that as UCLG is implemented, that is definitely an inspiration for all of us. Thanks.
Alicia, and yes, as you said, we were doing the briefing for this session on Wonder. So there are tools out there, but as you say, there's also a space for physical peer learning still. And I think moving forward, once the travel restrictions are over, we will need to decide, which kind of peer learnings need that like physical visit, physical travel and interaction, and what can be done without spending those resources and kind of the impact on the environment that has. So very interesting insights. Also kind of playing with different multimedia, podcasts, videos. We were trying to collect a lot of the materials that we have on UCLG TV during this retreat. So very interesting insightfuls that we can work on together. So thank you very much, Helmi and Alicia, for joining us in this last part. And in order to conclude this session, I know we're running pretty late. I'm gonna leave Sarah to take it on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, when we see here you all in the community, for us, with every single angle, we would like really to go deep, to wrap up, to connect. But I think the message is clear. So we want to expand and we want to connect and also have our members connected. And if we want to be informed about this, this is not for control or put ourselves in. Actually, we all the time are saying, okay, the content is your work. We help you on that these methodologies are set up in a way that it's understandable and clear. And I think we can come up to wrap up now our work. We would like to give a last round for those who have raised hands, but I'm a bit afraid I have not seen from here.
Well, yes, we do, but we actually do not have much time. So I suggest you that we give the floor to Charles.
Because we have okay. So we had asked Charles, maybe you can give us a little bit of your insight from 30 years of experience of practitioner in learning in Africa. So what are your insights on this session?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Sarah. I will try and be very brief, but I just want to say my starting position is that in local government, we must always ensure that we have a focus for what we are attempting to do. The training must have a focus. It must have a clear, specific goal that it must achieve. And this makes the difference between the kind of training that we provide and the general training that is available at universities, colleges. Ours is very much practice focused. So it is important to base our training on proper research, which involves local governments, and studying the way they are operating, the kind of problems that they are encountering, and tailoring our training to address specific issues and specific problems. I think this is the major take. Now, we have discussed in this session various elements concerning the sharing of that knowledge, because you don't produce knowledge for nothing. You produce the knowledge in order to share it to the people that must receive it. So we have discussed during this session various ways in which this knowledge can be shared through training modules, through networking, and also through, more recently, the e-learning platform. In Africa, we have focused a lot on peer learning, the peer review training, where we get leaders, mayors to peer review each other, identifying key problems that they are experiencing, and helping each other develop solutions to those problems. This is important because ultimately, we're not just creating knowledge for nothing, we are creating knowledge for application. And this methodology enables us to ensure that whatever we create in terms of the knowledge is immediately applied in the institution concerned. So this is a key element. I just want to conclude by saying, I cannot summarize everything that has happened during this session, but I want to emphasize that we need more collaboration, we need more partnership, and we need more networking. Thank you very much, Emilia.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you, learning team. There are two hands, and you are unstoppable, and you never get tired. And I only give the floor if you promise nobody else leaves this room, so that you can stick with us for the closing remark of an unbelievable week. You never get tired, people. Let's see. We got a colleague from EuroAsia that is with us. I will give back the floor to you later, Sarah, of course.
No, I want to make it.
There, very brief, very, very, very brief. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Tansulu Nuriba. I'm project coordinator of Uclg Eurasia. I wanted to say that the modules developed by Uclg learning team are very informative, are very substantial and useful for future trainers who are supposed to conduct trainings on SDGs for representatives of local administrations. And these modules cover a broad range of issues. And Uclg Eurasia is planning to organize a series of online learning workshops for members of Uclg Eurasia. And the program and content of these workshops will be based on Uclg's modules. And will be supplemented by concrete examples of projects and initiatives of Eurasia cities related to localizing SDGs. Also, Secretariat of Uclg Eurasia took part in online trainings, and for example, last December we took part in the training dedicated to resilience. Yes, and we will hold our own workshop also dedicated to resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you for using our methodology. And what we want EuroAsia to do is to join the Learning with UCLG platform. That's the proposal today. Our proposal is that you join our platforms. And I saw the hand of Helen Jordan from Metropolis. I know the Metropolis station was launched. I would hope we do a better job of linking those up. My hopes are high. Helen. She lost her connection? No, but Octavi is still here. Octavi, we don't want to leave Metropolis out.
No worries. Oh, I'm sorry that Helen is not, she has lost the connection because she's the one in charge of our learning strategy, and together with Mireia Zapata in our team. Very briefly, and as I said, we also have been, we've been always, we're organizing all the way we do our learning strategy, focusing more on the demands of our membership, always with this focus on metropolitan approaches. And we realized that basically that our learning was very dispersed in many different areas of work of Metropolis, and we have put jointly this station, we call it a station, not platform, where all the issues learning related to metropolitan aspects are there. And of course, this is then we can link it with the UCLG platform, of course, because we see, as I said before in the chat, we offer the metropolitan dish. So in our learning station, you will find the metropolitan dish that is on the menu of UCLG.
So much, Octavia, as you and I were discussing the other day, is not about having only one platform, it's about connecting them. It's the pitch that I gave yesterday. Sarah, 2 sentences. Are you happy about the session? The feedback in the chat has been amazing. You should be satisfied.
Thank you for so much feedback and so much input. We are very excited to take it forward. And sometimes working virtual makes the responses also easy because we have no excuse of travel. And I think it has been a very nice session, but because it is the end of a wonderful retreat, this retreat has been so amazing. We are all really taken away. And I can only gratulate all you who are there and all the time in the chat. We follow you. It's so amazing. We really feel connected.
Thank you. The learning team, how do we feel about the learning team? They rock. Thank you so much, learning team. And now we don't have anything else but really the wrap up of this incredible week. And let me take my notes, because without notes, I'm nobody. We have concrete proposals to go ahead. We've got this new idea of UCLG as platform of platforms, which is totally related to what we have discussed today. We have had diversity. Over 210 cities have participated from 70 countries, with over 620 participants, 3,000, and I don't know how much, Steven, sorry, I forgot again, 3,000 something clicks on UCLG Meets. They are amazing numbers for a network like ours, but we can even do better. We have been in the balconies and the windows of every single section that represents UCLG. They were technical meetings to build up our technical capacity, but actually political leadership was with us until the very end. We are diverse, we are powerful, and the only reason that we are that is because we learn, we research, we advocate together. The power of we is very clear. And I know that you have been blown away by all the tools that we have put to your service. Colleagues, these are not communication tools. They are complex platforms, easy to use, difficult to manage. We have had a camera crew with us. Actually, 3 cameras have been with us throughout. We have had many technical people from outside of this office accompanying us. An incredible crew that has made us feel as if we have done this for years, that have not gotten upset even though we went ahead and they couldn't eat. I also have to say that half of the Uclg team has rotated to be in the global home, voluntarily taking the health risk with all the precautions in order to make this possible, that this is not the communication department job, because that is impossible. Most of our policy team has been pinning speakers, has been doing all kinds of technical stuff. And I would be unfair if I didn't pay attention and pay tribute to a core team that has been throughout. I think at the beginning, they didn't even understand what we were trying to do.
No.
I think at the beginning, I was explaining this in every team meeting and they were like, yeah, but no. Well, in any case, this incredible team has been with me throughout, made this all possible. And I am sure I'm going to forget someone, and I'm taking a risk here, but allow me to sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank my Chief of Staff, Pablo Fernandez, for being the floor manager, producer, and mega man of this. Maria Alejandra, Mariale, she just joined us and she really didn't know what she was joining. And she has had the production headphones on for the full week. Alejandra, communication coordination. You can ask her anything and she will have it produced. And of course, the rest of the communication team, a special thanks, because you have been amazing. Stephen and Carol, the dynamic statutory duo. Without you, it is impossible to do anything. Jose and Massimo from the policy team, but now have producers, pinners, hosts, and everything that you can imagine. Juan Carlos, a special thank you to you, because since the live learning experiences, setting up interpretation and all these technical things that we didn't know about, that we have never learned about, is something that now look so seamless and simple. Congratulations, Juan Carlos. And someone that you never ever see, but is always there behind, and I always have everything I need when I need it, Elizabeth Silva, who is taking care of us here at the Global Home. Everybody else, everybody else deserves to be mentioned as well. But this group in particular has made this happen. Thank you so much, dear members. Do not forget us. See you soon, next week, Monday, with the presidency meeting. Bye-bye. It has been a wonderful week, and I am very tired, so I cannot think anymore. We love you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Weekend.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.